Alrighty, Rio, Ohio, like a true Rio, Ohio, at least for me. Happy Monday morning, if it's still morning for you. Happy Real Monday. Real Mondays episode 1. Let's go, baby. Oh my god, I am not a morning person, but we out here. I'm out here for you. Finger guns. Hi everybody, thanks for tuning in. I hope that you're excited for your first episode of Real Mondays. I'm really excited. Yeah, this is the pilot episode, yeah. Will this show be a banger or will it flop? Who knows? I think it's always funny watching like pilot episodes. No, I'm not gonna tangent. I'm not gonna yap. We have a plan. We have a plan today. I was just gonna say, I really love like with shows whenever you watch the pilot episode of a series and it's like clearly a little bit different than the rest of like the entirety of the show. You know what I mean? Oh my god, it's so hot already. The summer sucks. Hold on, I gotta turn my fan. Oh my god, I also just noticed there's a fur ball. There's a hairball in this cat tree next to me. Man, alright, well, I just washed their cover the other day because she hairballed on it. Alright, I'll do that again after this. Okay, anyway. What was I saying? Yeah, okay, so, yeah, I'm not gonna tangent. So this is a brand new series. We're gonna be doing this every single week, so I hope you're looking forward to it. The idea behind Real Mondays is that every single week we're just gonna have like a two-hour chill yap session. Because like unlike my other content, that my other streams are just relatively unstructured and I ramble forever and ever and ever, and the VODs go on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. This is, I mean, my goal is to keep these anywhere from an hour to 2 hours, depending on how many questions we have to get through. Probably maximum, I'll cap it at like 2.5, but I really don't want to go over that. I'm really going to do my best to like cap it at like 2.5 hours. That way it's just, this is like a structured piece of content amidst the sea of just unhinged degenerate length streams that I do. So that way this is like a regular thing that you can look forward to. Maybe, I don't know, either if you watch it live, you know, you can be like your live podcast, or otherwise if it's something that you have to catch up on, hopefully it's an easily digestible piece of content due to its length. So that's the idea. And yeah, every single week we'll probably, well, not every single week, but some weeks we'll have themes and topics like this one. Other weeks it will be little less like strict, so it'll be more of like an Ask Me Anything format if I can't think of any cool particular topics. So that's the basic rundown. So let's start the show. Welcome to episode 1 of Ryo Mondays. So for this week, I figured we'd kick it off with some content creator themed questions. So basically questions for me, a Corpo VTuber, or / advice from me, a Corpo VTuber. I'm gonna recalibrate my face really fast. Okay, there we go. So thank you everyone for submitting the questions. I closed it last night. I was like, oh my god, there's a lot in here. So hopefully we have enough time to go through all of these. If we don't, then, you know, we'll do episode 2, finishing the rest of the questions. That's a possibility. But yeah, the idea behind this episode is, you know, if you're a fellow content creator and you want insight or advice from me, who is also a fellow content creator and a Corpo VTuber, or if you're just a fan and you're curious about what it's like behind the scenes, what the life of a content creator is, that was the prompt for the questions that everyone submitted. So thank you for your questions if you got them in. Thanks for tuning in. If you're here to catch the show, let's get into it. Actually, before we get into it, really quick disclaimer. I kind of posted this on Twitter, but I just want to reiterate this at the beginning of this episode. Like I said, this is meant to be a more structured piece of content here on this channel. So I'm aiming to keep the length to about 2 hours. So what that means is that there might be times when I'm not able to get to every single question that was answered that week. I apologize in advance and thank you for your understanding. And if that happens where you're like, I don't get to your question, I encourage you to consider uploading or submitting it for the next week if it fits the prompt, if it fits the theme. And then maybe I'll be able to get to it. In a similar vein, there are some questions that I may choose not to address on stream, just given my position as, you know, a Corpo VTuber who is under contract, has an NDA and things like that. So if there's anything that I look at and like maybe the content of the question or the language of the question is something that I deem that I feel is inappropriate for me to answer, just given my, you know, position, you know, here is someone under NIJISANJI, then I may not give priority to your question or may have to skip it. And again, I apologize. I still thank you for your question, and I encourage you to, like, anytime you're submitting a question or resubmitting a question, just like really think carefully about like the language that you use, or you know, if you think it's something that, like, if you're writing a question you're like, man, this is really personal, or like this really kind of gets into like, you know, behind the scenes kind of contracty stuff, it's probably going to be a no-go, unfortunately. So just a friendly reminder. All right, that's our disclaimer. I'm losing my voice from all the yelling we did yesterday during the NIJI EN Sports Showdown. Oh my god. My throat is dying from yesterday. That was a lot of fun. Let's get into the questions. So last minute this morning, I had this like set up a different way, and then last minute, I was like, you know what? I don't like the way I have set it, so we're gonna do it a different way. So I messed around with it right before stream. At some point, maybe, I don't know, maybe we'll change the layout, but this is what we're gonna do for now. I have my like carrot, mango, peach, carrot juice. Let's go. I know I need the throat coat tea. I have to do my dishes after this though. I like my teacups are dirty. I'm gonna run my dishwasher after this. Let's see. Should I grab? Sorry. Oh my god. I should grab my background music, probably. Wait, which one is my... Hold on. Audio sources. Okay, I'm gonna add some BGM. to this scene really fast. Do 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 do. Oh my god, I'm dying. Okay, just chatting BGM. Where did that go? Oh, there we go. I'm gonna turn it down a little though. I don't want it to be too overpowering. How's that volume? Is that okay relative to my voice? Is it overpowering or is it pretty good? Hopefully that's okay. Yeah, I got watered. Volume's good. Okay, awesome. All right, cool. So what I did is I've just got a bunch of questions from the marshmallow that I opened up. So thank you again if you submitted a question, and we're just gonna run through as many of these as I can in the time limit. All right, let's do it. And then I have my little, if there's something, so like I think we'll actually do it for this one. How do I? Pew, pew, pew. Look at that little paint action, little MS Paint action. Kind of zoom in here. All right, cool. Let's get started. RyoMondays episode 1, advice from a Corpo VTuber, or questions for a Corpo VTuber. Let's see. Hey Ryoma, hope you're having a good day right now. My question is, how do you motivate yourself every day to upload or stream something, especially when you're a new content creator? I've tried my hand on uploading gameplay, but every attempt feels more or less inadequate. Sorry. Either because I feel the quality is terrible, or I feel like I'm not engaging enough for viewers. I hope this is a good question. Thanks for answering. If you do, Ryoma, love your streams. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you for your question. Okay, cool. I am having a good day right now. My question is, how do you motivate yourself every day to upload? Here, look, I've got my little drawing tablet and my stylus. So let's see, let's address this part first. I don't like the way that looks. Hold on, back up. Boop, boop. Oh my god, I can't draw. So as far as like this part of the question goes, like how do you motivate yourself every day to upload or stream something, especially when you're a new content creator? What would I say to this? So first of all, this is a common, I wouldn't call this a mistake, but it's a common thing where people sort of tie, I think we as humans have a tendency to tie our actions to our motivation levels for something. So for example, if in this context, right? In this context, it's you know, you're a content creator and you want to be pushing out as much content as as much for volume and stuff like that. And I've made this mistake in the past. I'm sure everybody has at some point. The problem is that like motivation comes and goes. You're really not going to be motivated some days to edit your video or, you know, hit that go live button. For whatever reason. It could be a multitude of reasons. It could be you had a hard day at work or a hard day at school, or you're just physically tired from yesterday's activities or that day's activities, whatever. Doesn't really matter. Your motivation is not going to be there 100% of the time. And so if you are trying to upload something or create content really frequently, which the reality is, and this is kind of crappy, the reality is that the algorithms these days really do favor like constant frequency of uploads and consistency of uploads. It's just the way the market works, right? Because you have these various apps that are all competing for everyone's attention, and so they reward creators for basically uploading as frequently as possible, even multiple times a day sometimes, because that just means more content on their platform, which means that they hope to like steal the eyeballs of more of the market share. So there is this constant like feeling of pressure as a creator to like create content every single day. The problem is that we're not machines. We're gonna get burned out. So motivation, if you're like, okay, I will make, like, if motivated, I will make one video today. The problem with this is you're not gonna have this every single day to make one video or one stream, whatever it is, every single day. Trust me, especially when you do this for a really long time, you're not gonna have this. So don't try to try not to think about it this way. try to shift your mindset away from like, how do I motivate myself to make content every day? It's not about motivation, it's about consistency. It's not this. It's about consistency. Right? So find whatever it is that helps you be consistent. I know for some people, it might just be like, get yourself like a paper calendar. And then like every single day on that paper calendar, if your goal is to make a piece of content every day or whatever, like literally just like every single day of the week, you know, do whatever you need to do to like keep track of that streak 7 days a week or whatever, so that you actually like have something tangible that you can look at and you can be like, okay, because once you get, and realistically probably what's going to happen is you're going to be like, you're going to start out strong and you're gonna be like, okay, yeah, day 1 cool, day 2 cool, day 3 cool, but by here you might be kind of getting burned out, and then like maybe you miss a day, you know, and you're like, crap, all right, but then maybe you hit the next day, but then maybe you don't hit the next day, and maybe you don't hit the next day after that or whatever. This is what it's probably gonna look at like in the very beginning when you start out, right? And this is okay. This is the thing too, is like, this is okay. Don't be hard on yourself if you aren't 100% consistent, because again, you're a human, you're not a robot. You're not gonna be 100% consistent, but really your goal should be like, you're like, man, this felt really good right here. I want to get back to that, where I can like look back on my week and be like, yo, I crushed it, you know? And then just kind of like keep trying to extend that streak to the point where you're like being really consistent with it. And again, maybe you're not like full 7 days a week consistent, but like this will feel awesome. And then eventually, hopefully you get to this point where you're like hitting it every single day. So that might help. This isn't for everybody, but it might help for you. I'm a visual person, so like this kind of thing helps me, you know? It might help you. The other thing, what I have actually done, again, is, so me, here, let me like clear this. Is there an easy way to clear this? Oh God, no, that's gonna take forever. Okay, here, let's just do this again. For me, I know this about myself. In all the years I've been doing this, and the more I learn about my ADHD as well, I really struggle to do things without deadlines. And I, independently on my own, am not good at motivating myself, or even being like, what's another way to describe it? Like driving myself to be consistent without deadlines. I find deadlines to be the best thing for me. Because again, I can't go off motivation, because my motivation level is affected by so many different things. It's just not a reliable like driving force behind content creation for me. So I need deadlines set. It's like, you have to have this thing done by this day at this time, right? You might be able to set your own deadlines for yourself. So let's say you're like, okay, and this is why we write schedules too, partially as streamers. So if you're a streamer, it could be something like, okay, my deadline is I write my schedule and I tell my audience, you know, hey, we're playing this game on this day at this time. And then you put that out there in the world on social media to be accountable, because trust me, it's going to feel bad if you like go back on your word. And that's not like, you don't want to disappoint your fans. You don't want to disappoint yourself and be like, man, because trust me, that'll feel worse. It helps to just have someone be accountable, or feel like you're being held accountable by putting it out into the universe. So that might be enough motivation for you. Same thing for like videos. You could be like, hey, I had this idea for this piece of content or this short clip from a VOD or whatever it is. You're like, okay, I'm going to get it done by this day. This is a lot easier to do if it's like a newer, like let's say a new game comes out and you want to ride the hype wave. You could be like, okay, new game came out. I'm going to stream it on this day that, you know, maybe release day or the day after or whatever fits my schedule. And I also want to make sure that I get like a clip out, like a shorts or a TikTok or whatever to ride that wave. and I need to have it done by the next day or the day after, or whatever. Set deadlines for yourself. If you have trouble, so you want to know what I do that I just started recently last week. And this is one of the benefits of being like a Corpo, you know, content creator, but you could do this. You don't need a manager like I have. You could do this with a friend. I went to my manager and I said, hey, Mane-san, I suck at editing videos and uploading them if I don't have deadlines. That's just the way my brain works. And I know this about myself. And I said, I'm not here to make any more work for you. You don't have to even like, you can watch the videos if you want. I'll submit them if you want to check them. But like, all I need from you is to just agree that the expectation between us is that every Wednesday I will have 4 videos and or like YouTube shorts or short form videos edited, ready to go. Maybe not like posted by then, but like edited and prepared for upload. Because I know that I need a deadline, but I am not good at holding myself accountable. If it's just me in my own head, that deadline doesn't matter. It might as well not exist. So you may find it helpful to go to someone externally, because I need the deadline and I need the external pressure. I need an external force. I can't type. I need the external pressure to hold me accountable to that deadline. So that's just the understanding that my manager and I have now, is that like every Wednesday I will tell her, yep, I got my videos done for the week. So you might find this helpful as a creator if you are like me and you struggle to actually, you're like, hey, because like, come on, we all deal with it. You're like, I know I'm supposed to stream this game or whatever. And I know I'm supposed to make like shorts or clips or whatever and post them on social media. And I know that just doing like one of that isn't good enough. If I'm trying to grow, if your goal is growth, of course, you're like, I know that I actually need to do that en masse, like in volume. And if you're finding that like your motivation by yourself, or you try this, you know, or you try the calendar thing or whatever, and it's not working, go to a friend. If you don't have a manager like me, go to a friend or someone and be like, yo, let's just establish an agreement that every week or whatever, whatever your deadline is, like you just make up a deadline for yourself and then have that person hold you accountable and like check in. And again, don't create extra work for them. Don't be like, you need to like review my video and tell me whether it's good enough and like what I should do better. Like, don't do that. I mean, you can if you want, if they're okay with it, but you don't have to. I would say if anything, the most important thing is that someone else is expecting you to do this work, and that external pressure will probably, hopefully be enough for you to get it done. Right? So that's what I do. So that's that. That's what I would suggest. How does the eraser work in here? Oh, erase all markups. Oh, I should have just done that before. Teehee. Anyway, that was a really long-winded explanation for that part. Sorry. But I think this is a super important question, because I know that like literally every content creator struggles with this, quite frankly. What else? I've tried my hand on uploading gameplay, but every attempt feels more or less inadequate, either because I feel the quality is terrible, or I feel like I'm not engaging enough for viewers. I mean, this is a mood, especially when you're a newer creator, for sure. Like, especially, is my marker? Why are you the hand? How do I go back to the pen? Help. Guys, what am I doing wrong? Oh, okay, we're back. We're still back. All right, cool. Every attempt feels more or less inadequate, either because I feel the quality is terrible, or I feel like I'm not engaging enough for viewers. So you say every attempt feels more or less inadequate, right? My question for you would be, one thing to consider is like this, especially right here, either because I feel the quality is terrible. Are you judging this before you upload it or after? That's a good question to like ask yourself. I think a mistake that even I do a lot, and I think probably a lot of content creators, is we judge a thing before it even comes to fruition. You know, you'll have an idea, and in the moment when that idea is born, you're like, this is gonna be great. The longer it cooks in your brain before you actually make it, the more likely you are to be like, oh, it's not gonna be good enough. And then you literally like abandon the idea before you even make the piece of content. That happens a lot. So that's one thing to like catch yourself on. If you find yourself doing that, try to stop. I think so many things never get made because whatever. I do it a lot. I know a lot of it. I've seen and heard other people do it a lot too. And it's tough, right? Because like the reality is like content creation is really oversaturated. There's a million content creators all doing really similar things. And so you might feel like one line of thought might be like, someone already did it. Someone beat me to it. There's no point in me doing it now. But, you know, the problem is that like if you think that way and you don't make the content to begin with, like it never has the chance to pop off. Everybody has their own unique style of delivery, their own unique voice, their own unique way of thinking about something, of presenting it, so many different factors. So just make the thing. Let it happen. And then if it doesn't do well, we'll kind of talk about that. I'm sure at some point. That's okay. At least you made the thing and gave it a chance rather than not at all. Now, if you're looking at it after the fact and you're like, it's terrible, then it's like, then you have to ask yourself, why are you thinking it's terrible? Are you thinking it's terrible because are you basing this fact on viewership count? Or are you saying it's terrible? Because if you're saying it's terrible because you really truly think the quality was terrible, then it's kind of like you probably maybe uploaded something beforehand that you knew wasn't up to par for your standards. And then you need to look at if that's the reason. Like if you're saying this before you even upload it, you need to look at like why you're uploading it to begin with. Are you just rushing to get it out there? You know? If you're just rushing to get something out there, you are probably already aware that that's like not the greatest strategy. And that's like not good enough. And that's like not the standard you want to hold yourself to. So you already know, like if you already have that feeling, then that right there is like, that's like your thing that you need to address. A lot of people will judge their content on whether or not it's terrible based on views. This is the biggest trap of everything. I could probably like do an entire 2-hour podcast just purely on viewership, but I'm not going to because we have a lot of questions to try to get through. This is a trap, of course, but it's something that we're all beholden to as creators. You shouldn't really so if you're saying it's terrible, so like if you're a content creator and you and this resonates with you, you're watching this right now and you're like, yeah, that's how I feel about my content sometimes, is I upload something and I feel the quality is terrible, or maybe I'm not engaging enough for viewers. This all kind of ties well together. If you're watching this and you're like, yeah, that sounds like me, I've had that thought before, my question to you is, why are you saying that? Is it because of your viewership? Is it your CCV when you're live streaming, like your concurrent viewership, like how many people are watching live? Is it your just like view count on YouTube, like your video views, like whatever this metric, whatever metric you're going off of? I would advise to like try to abandon relating view counts to quality, right? View counts. Because view counts are such a fickle thing, man. Because you could have literally the best piece of content in the world, and the you control only part of the equation. You don't control the whole equation, right? You're kind of at the mercy of the algorithm of the platform that you uploaded to. And that's still only part of it too. You're also at the mercy of like the audience, right? So for example, you could make the most banger piece of content and the algorithm just doesn't pick up on it for whatever reason. Maybe your metadata is Like maybe it's not tagged well enough. The metadata isn't good enough. That could be a reason. And that's not related at all to like the actual piece of content that you made. It could be that the algorithm also got confused by your metadata and said, oh, this piece of content should go to this type of viewer, and it pushes your video to like a certain demographic, a certain like interest group, whatever, but it messed up and it just missed the mark. And the people that are seeing your video are like, I'm not interested in this. So they don't watch it. They don't engage with it. So it hurts its metrics, right? That's another thing that happens for whatever reason. Because again, it's like an AI, right? It's not a human watching your thing and going, oh yeah, I think other humans want to see this. So I'm going to show this video to all my fellow humans who I know are also interested in this thing. It's an AI, like it's an algorithm, and it makes mistakes sometimes. So that could happen. That could be a reason why viewership is low. It could just be that the people that maybe it is trying to get to the right audience, but those people for whatever reason are just busy that day or whatever, right? You know, like they just don't have the time. They're watching another video and that your video shows up in their recommended, and normally they would love to watch that video, but they just are out of time. They have to run out the door, go do something else. Their boss walks in while they're in the office and they have to close YouTube before they get fired. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like there's so many things that are outside of your control. So don't, if you're a content creator and you're like, man, my content is terrible and I don't feel like I'm engaging enough because I'm getting low views, I would strongly try to encourage you to try to change your outlook and disconnect view count from quality. It's not a good measure, in my opinion. It is a measure, but it is not always the measure. So that's something to always remember, keep in mind. Similarly, I mean, in a similar vein, if you're judging your content's quality off of reactions to it, such as like comments, whether that's live or whether that's on like a uploaded piece of content, like a video, if you get negative comments on it, again, try to, this is tough, right? Because it's like, I don't know, man, it's going to affect you mentally, but trust me on this. Again, reactions are not always the best. They are a measure. They can be and are a measure, but they don't always equal quality because, again, you can have the best piece of content ever, and if you show that piece of content to someone who's having a shitty day or a shitty week or a shitty month, they're going to tell you it's bad. Like, trying to judge your content's quality off of other people's reactions is another pitfall. Because if you show that piece of content to someone who's having a great week, they just got confessed to by the person they have a crush on, they got a new job, they did well in school, and their parents praise them, whatever. You show that exact same piece of content to someone who's having a really great week, and they're going to have a really positive reaction to it. You show that identical piece of content to someone who having a shit week, they broke up with their partner, they got fired, whatever, they're not going to have the same reaction to the identical piece of content, right? So you can't really base your analysis of whether or not something you made was good based off other people's reactions, because it's not, at least it's not consistent. Because again, you could take that same person, take the same person and the same piece of content, and if you were to had two different timelines where you had the same person, the same human being, where they're having a good week, and in another timeline where they're having a bad week, and you show them that content, again, that same person is probably going to react differently. So it's just like a fickle thing. So just consider that. All of this to say that, like, your judgment of quality, I would strongly encourage you to base that upon how you feel about that piece of content. Like, if you upload a piece of content, you know, you make a video and you upload it to YouTube or whatever, that does not look like it's not a good arrow. Sure, that's better. You upload a piece of content. I think the only time you should be saying like, hey, I'm terrible, that's terrible, or I'm not engaging enough, is where you do something and then you watch it back and you're like, oh, you know what? My hook wasn't very strong. I could have like made that hook a little more engaging. I could have changed up the timing. I could have shaved a little more dead air here. You know, I could have presented that point a little more succinctly, you know, that kind of thing. So if you're someone, I personally am like, I think the only time as a content creator you should be saying like your quality is bad is when you personally have looked back upon a piece of content and you're going, oh yeah, like this could be better here. You know, I could have done a little more editing here. Like I could have put like some text on screen to make it a little more engaging or drive that point home a little bit more clearly. I could have, you know, I have too much editing here, too many transitions. It's just a little overwhelming. I should cut back on that, you know, like, so when you're making a piece of content, again, like try not to rush getting it out if you can. Some things are a little more time sensitive, but if it's not super time sensitive, sit on it for like a day, like finish the thing, go to bed, watch it the next day. And I guarantee you, if you're a content creator who does care about like your editing style and your quality, you're going to be like, okay, this could be better here. This could be better here. And that's a great time to be like, yeah, this isn't going to be engaging enough for viewers. This is maybe terrible is harsh, but you're like, this is not up to like the standard that I want to deliver for my content. This is not what I want to be known for. I'm going to then go back in and change this. And then that way, regardless of how many views it gets or what kind of comments it gets, you're going to be like, yeah, but this content was good. Like this was good quality. Like I put my heart and soul into this. I thought about this really hard. I'm happy with it. So you always have that. And that way you're always learning and improving, and it helps train yourself to be like analytical and self-critical. A lot of people struggle with being self-critical. A lot of people struggle with getting feedback. But I think it starts with yourself. Maybe you're really sensitive to external feedback and you don't take it well, but at the very least, you should be open to feedback from yourself. Otherwise, you're just not really ever going to grow as a creator, in my opinion. So yeah, so don't be so hard on yourself. Don't let view counts or comments or whatever change your perception of like your quality as a content creator. The only person who should be telling you your quality isn't good enough is yourself. And it should be for not these reasons, right? Not view count reasons. It should be because you're looking at something that you made and you're like, oh, nope, I could do this better. If I put a little bit more time and effort into this, this will be better. And you can iterate on it until you're happy. But of course, the catch is don't iterate on it endlessly, because that's also another pitfall. Content creation is hard. That's the overarching point, is that this stuff is hard. There's so many pitfalls. There's a lot of people that I know, myself included, sometimes where you iterate on something trying to perfect it and then you just never release it. You know, that's another thing too. Watch out for that trap as well. So don't do that either. You know, not everything is going to be perfect, but get it to a point where you're like, at the very least, you're like, this meets the standard of quality that I want to be known for, and then put it out there, right? And then trust me, you're going to watch that piece of content like a month later, and you're going to, hopefully in a month, you're going to be like, man, I should have done this differently, and I should have done this differently, and I should have done this differently, and I bet it would have performed even better. But more importantly, or just as importantly, you're going to be like, I have improved since then. You know, it's now a month later, and the things that I'm looking at this video saying I should do that better and this differently are the things that you're already implementing now a month down the road in your videos, so that quality of your content a month down the road is already higher. And you're like, okay, I just made this video and I did all these things well, and I wish I had done these things in my last video or that video a month ago, right? That's hopefully where you're at. Cool. Man, I spent a lot of time on that question. Sorry. But that was a really good question. It was loaded. Hello, Ryo-san. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Here's the question. How long you wanted to be a creator of YouTube, content creator of VTuber? Man, since so long ago. I mean, I really remember back in the days of like, when like Call of Duty was really popular on YouTube, or like, I remember like Halo content and stuff. Like the machinima, like Halo stuff. I remember watching that, and when like YouTube, like gaming personalities started popping up on YouTube, and I was like, oh my god, this is their job. Like they just play video games and talk about games, and then this is their job. I want to do that. I've been doing this for so long, guys, like longer than anyone I personally know. I uploaded my first YouTube video so long ago. and just have been doing it ever since. Like, probably take whatever number you're thinking of and like double it, maybe even triple it, you know? Because like, I would argue that I see a lot of creators, I see this on social media all the time. I think this is safe to say that like the average career span of like a hopeful content creator is like, just going off like the things that I see people post, like the doom posts I see on Twitter, is like maybe a year, maybe 2 years, way less frequently 3 years. I personally think that's fair to say. That's just my analysis of it, as well as my experience with people that I've made that, you know, that I've been acquaintances with or friends with. I think these days the average career span of like a budding hopeful content creator is like a year, maybe 2, because I think people hit that point of like trying this for like a year or 2 and then they go, okay, I haven't reached the point that I want to, that I hope to be at in this time, and I think it's time to throw in the towel. Okay, 3 million years ago is crazy. I'm not that old, guys. But yeah, I would say take whatever number that you're thinking of for my career length and at least double it, maybe triple it, quite frankly. I've been doing this for a really, really, really long time. Like a really long time. Longer than anybody else I've known. So I've known for a really long time that I wanted to be a content creator. It's just always kind of been the dream. VTubing less so. I was only introduced to VTubing like, God, it's probably been like a month, or not a month, sorry. Like a year ago? Yeah, the VTubing sphere is still pretty new to me, personally. But I really love it. That was a good question. Hopefully that gives you a little insight. 69 years? Nice, but no. 50... Okay, guys. Is there any way to stop or prevent procrastination on creating more content or following a posting schedule? Hey, this was the thing that I already answered. But yeah, again, I would say... I am not in Microsoft Paint right now. Hold on. Wait, pause. Wait, where did the question go? Teehee. Hold on. Guys, I know how to use technology. It's fine. This is like what I said. This is the thing I spent like probably 20 minutes yapping about. Yeah, just set deadlines. Deadlines are your friends. They will motivate you to do stuff. Particularly if that deadline is enforced by an external force. External force applying pressure on you. This could be a family member. This could be a friend. This could be if you have a manager like I do. Someone who expects you to... You tell the person, I will have this piece of content done by this day. And then that person, when that day comes, is going to be like, hey, did you do it? Is it done yet? And they will hopefully nag you until it's done. This is my recommendation. So again, for people who missed it, what I do is I went to my manager and I said, hey manager, I have ADHD and I'm really, really, really bad at not doing things. And I know that the only way for me to actually get stuff done is if I have a deadline and someone expects me to deliver something by that deadline. So let's just shake hands and set an agreement that every Wednesday I will let you know that I have completed 4 videos. They could be full-length videos or some combination of videos and shorts, or all shorts, like vertical 60-second pieces of content. But the point is that every single week my manager expects me, and I made this arrangement myself. I went to them and I said, I don't need you to do any extra work. You don't have to check the videos or anything. All I need from you is just to nod your head in agreement that we both have an understanding that every single Wednesday I will tell you that I have finished 4 pieces of content and it's ready to upload. And that helps me. And then, because I just don't like editing videos, quite frankly. I don't like editing. I used to love editing. I don't love editing so much these days. And I know that about myself, and, you know, because my motivation for editing is low, therefore I just like don't do it. But now that I have the expectation of a deadline, I do it. There you go. That's my recommendation. Give it a shot. 4 pieces a day. Oh god, 4 pieces a day would be a lot. 4 pieces a week. Also, for me, it's 4 pieces a week. And given my schedule, with all my other stuff that I have to do, it still feels like a lot. Like literally the last week, I was like, oh my god, should I have set this number lower? Was 4 too high? 3 is probably more reasonable. But I'm like, nope, it's gonna be 4 because, you know, I think that's the right amount. If my expectation is 4 pieces of content and I'm thinking to myself 4 is too much, but 3 might be better, then to me that means that I'm right at the right number. Because that way I'm still pushing myself as well. Because 3 would be easier to complete, but then I think that would be the point where it's also easy for me to feel a little more lazy. So setting it to 1 higher, at least, you know, keeps me, I don't even know how to describe it, but like almost like keeps me on my toes, I guess. You know, like keeps that feeling of external pressure, I guess. So for me, I think 4 is the right amount. And I'll adjust it if needed as well. You know, I think being flexible is important. I'm sure you've worked incredibly hard to be where you are at as a content creator, and I really admire that. Can you share some stories on how or why you decided to go down this career path? Oh yeah, I mean that kind of goes back to what I was saying. Is like I just saw. I mean, mine's really simple, and I'm sure it's this for a lot of people. Is I saw people playing video games in the booming era of when gaming on YouTube really blew up, and I said, I want to do that. And that wasn't even a point in my life where I'd had like an office job or like a real career. It wasn't even that. It was like, I just thought it would be cool because I liked video games. Video games were the only thing in my life that like I understood, you know? And I felt I was good at. And so I was like, you know, this would be perfect for me. So yeah. That's really it, honestly. And I just kind of never got over that dream. It was just a very simple, that was all it was. I never really thought about it in any deeper manner than that. It never really went deeper. I know for some people, they have like deeper motivations or whatever. For me, like, I'm not even gonna like try to like lie. It's just like, it was simply like, I just want to play video games and have people watch, and then hopefully I make money. It's not deeper than that for me. Hopefully that's not disappointing for anyone to hear. Hopefully that doesn't like change your opinion of me, but that's the reality. Like, I just want to play games and you know, get to do that. And I think that's okay. Like, I think like you don't like, the thing with content creation is like, there's no qualifications necessary. You don't need like some deeper motivation or like noble cause to want to be a content creator. Like, because also no one's checking. Like, there's no like qualification process. That's part of the reason why the market is so saturated nowadays. Is because like literally like anyone can do it. You just, like, most people these days have a phone, and that phone probably has a camera and video taking capabilities. So like the accessibility of being a quote unquote content creator, the barrier for entry is like pretty much non-existent now. You could be a content creator if you could be sitting here in chat and have never uploaded a single video in your life, and just grab your phone and go shoot some video and then upload it. You don't even have to upload it. It doesn't even have to be video these days. You literally could just take a bunch of pictures and make a carousel of like rotating pictures and upload that on a social media site. You're a content creator. Congratulations. Like, the barrier to entry is incredibly low. So you don't really need like some noble cause, you know? It could just be something you do for fun. I just happen to be in a really amazing position finally now where it's like, yeah, I can just like play video games and, you know, generate some money from that. So for me, that's the dream, because that was the dream when I was younger, and now it's like that's kind of where I am now, you know. So it's like, yay. So yeah, that's my that's kind of that. I have a deeper, okay, there is this deeper story to it, but I don't know if I want to. It gets a little more like personal and like doxing territory, maybe. Yeah, I probably won't share that stuff. But basically, there were a lot of like different paths that I took through life, and a lot of ups and downs, and things that like took me away from content, and then things that brought me back to it. And it's been a journey, but I'm here now, and that's what matters. But yeah, thank you for your question. How much do viewer demographics affect your types of content or approach to content creation? The male VTuber audience is typically majorly female. Do you do anything to specifically cater to that? Oh, this is a really interesting question. So this is like two parts here. This part I just want to address. Well, that's better. I can do that better. See, chat, when you upload a piece of content, iterate until you're happy with it. Don't upload something that you're not. That's a pretty good line. See, this is what I'm talking about. My viewership on this video, your comments in chat do not affect how I feel about the line that I just drew. I iterated on that line and I was like, that one's too squiggly. That one cuts off the text too much. I iterated on it until I was happy with it. So now, no matter what the response is, I know that I did my best work and I'm happy with that. And then down the road, I will probably look back on this line in a month and be like, that line was shit. I could have done that better because the lines I'm drawing now are way better than that. There you go. There's a real life example. Anyway, I want to address this really fast. I think this is not saying that this is a wrong opinion or anything. Not hating. I think this is just kind of like an assumption. Because like, I think it's different for everybody, right? Like, and it is kind of, it does also kind of tie into like your content that you deliver. The male VTuber audience is typically majorly female. I don't know. Do we have empirical evidence for that? I have no idea. I feel like that's maybe an assumption. Maybe it's true, but it also could be interpreted as an assumption. So, I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not. So I'm not gonna like... Yeah, I don't know. That being said, there's nothing wrong with going into like your analytics that your platform, you know, tells you and seeing like whatever the split is, you know, and then like maybe making decisions based off that. So like this part of the question, do your viewer demographics affect your types of content or approach to content creation? For me personally, no. But for other people, yes. For you as a content creator, maybe that's yes. Me, I don't really, because again, I can even look at my stats in my YouTube dashboard and it will tell me a number and it will say this percentage identifies as female and this percentage identifies as male. And I'm like, okay, well, cool. What does that even mean? Why does it matter? Because like that also doesn't like tell me like, you know, like what, like do those people like men? What does that mean? Like, do they, like, I'm a guy, I identify as a guy. Like, does that mean that they like me that I identify as a guy? Or like what, like it's not, it's just a number on a screen. Like, it doesn't mean anything to me. So I personally don't put a ton of stock into that. So I don't base my, like the way that I make my content based off of that, because I just don't, it doesn't matter to me. And I don't think it's particularly like reliable anyway. That's just my personal approach. There are plenty of people out there who do cater their content to like a specific demographic that they're hoping to attract though. And there's nothing wrong with that. It just depends on like what kind of content you want to make, right? In this regard though, I would say, especially for you newer up and coming creators, one pitfall that I would advise you to be wary of is thinking that if you make content in a certain way, specifically designed to attract and appease a specific demographic in the hopes that that helps you grow very quickly. Yes, you might find success that way in fast growth, but the question, the bottom line that you need to be asking yourself before any of that is like, is that the type of content that you're okay with making long term? Because especially like this is true in so many different forms of media and aspects of life. It's like if you set the expectation up front of one thing, but you really want to do this other thing. Like let's say like you've set expectation A. I don't know how to write this. Maybe we're gonna explore this together. Expectation A, right? Wait. Yeah, hold on. I can spell. Okay, expectation. Do you ever write a word? Do you ever start writing a word and you're like that doesn't look right, even though it is right. I can't, like, every single time, I swear every single time I go to make a tweet, I'll write a word and I'm like, there's no way that's the correct spelling of that, right? I just had that moment because I haven't written expectation in forever. So I was like, wait a minute. Okay, but yeah, anyway. So you said expectation A. The problem is, like, maybe you're just like, but you as a content creator, you actually just want to make, like, you want to make content like B. Hopefully this makes sense, right? So if you start out saying, hey, I want to make this to attract like a certain demographic because I think it will help me grow faster, right? So let's just say we're operating off, this is all hypothetical, this is not what I personally subscribe to, just let me preface that. But let's just say that you're operating off the assumption that the audience is, the majority is female and they must want content that you, how do I even describe this? I think you all get what I'm getting at though. You like make content targeting what you suppose is a female audience and they must desire this, right? And maybe it works. It absolutely can work, right? And then that attracts a bunch of people who want that type of content. But is that what you really want to do as a content creator? Is that what you want to do for your career? Or is that, are you doing that because you're thinking or you're hoping that it will like help you grow really fast, right? Because if you really want to be over here doing this, this is not going to translate well into this when you want to make that jump. You will have some people, you will retain some people for sure. Like there will be some people who are just so like, who do really like, I don't want to say fall in love, that feels so parasocial, but you get what I mean. Like not in a romantic way, but like who actually do come for, they're attracted by whatever this is. And then they go, oh, okay, but this person's really cool. I actually just genuinely like their personality regardless of what they do. And then they will follow you to this, but you're going to also experience a really big drop off, right? At the same time, you're going to, that's not an arrow, bro. Right? Like you're going to experience a really big drop in viewership. And if that's going to happen when you finally go over to making the stuff you really truly wanted to make, and you go through all of that mental anguish, because trust me, you will as a content creator, what was the point, right? You should have just set the expectation that you're just going to do this from the very beginning then. Like you just wasted a bunch of time and broke a bunch of expectations and put yourself through all the mental torture of like watching your viewership go down, you know? So just don't, this kind of thing. So for me, the way I have always operated is like, what you see is what you get. Like I don't make content hoping to attract a certain demographic particularly. I just do the stuff that I find interesting that I want to do. And I'm really grateful and fortunate that like, you know, all of you have found me and are like, yeah, cool. Let's watch you do that. I'll watch you do whatever. And I'm really, really lucky that that's where I'm at. And I'm cognizant of that fact. So this is just from my personal experience and my analyses of content creation. I would say like my recommendation is what I just described. Like don't necessarily try to cater your content to a specific demographic if that content is not the stuff that you want to be doing long term or what you're truly passionate about, because you will burn out and you will eventually be like, man, I've been doing this for a while and I'm growing, but like I just want to do this, man. And then when you go do this, you'll find that your viewership's terrible and you feel bad, blah, blah, blah. It's just not worth it. It's just not worth it, man. Now, if this is, if you're making, however you want to describe this type of content that attracts a specific demographic and you like doing that and you have fun with that, then great. Then that's a win for you. You know, there's so many different ways to approach content creation and so many different types. Those, what I'm saying is like, don't try to like paint yourself in a corner because you think that's the only path to success in content creation, because that's just not true. There's an audience for everything out there. It's more just that it like certain audiences just take a longer time to attract and to find. Certain audiences, certain types of content, it just takes a little bit longer for that audience that likes that content to find you. And you may have to work harder than other people to get your content out there and get it in front of enough eyeballs. However, in the long run, it will pay off, in my opinion. You know, so many people these days chase shortcuts and it's just not sustainable, in my opinion. and it's a really common pitfall. And you see a lot of creators. The reality is, man, you see so many people like doom posting and burnt out on social media as content creators. Like, I wish people just liked me for this, because this is actually really what I want to do. And it's like, because they probably followed some sort of path like this. For whatever reason, they got the idea from probably other people that they observed or talked to, that, hey, if you really want to grow, you should do this. Do all this stuff and attract all this audience. You know, and you'll get a lot of viewers, you'll get a lot of followers, and then maybe eventually you can do this. But it's like, this is gonna happen, and this is gonna suck. That drop off is gonna suck. Trust. Hi, Aya. However, comments he. Anyway, hopefully that makes sense. That was a really good question. Hopefully that was a clear enough answer. Glad you started the series, Ryoma. I've been wondering, besides streams themselves, about how much time do you dedicate towards VTubing and content creation? Like, in terms of planning out your schedule, brainstorming new ideas, offline work. Hope you have a great day. Thank you. Oh my god, all of my time. That's the real answer. But partially that's because I am a Corpo, VTuber now. A company VTuber. I am significantly busier than when I was like just, an indie content creator. Because so this your experience in terms of like your time that you need to dedicate towards like your content creation is going to change varying on your situation. If you're an indie, it will probably be less crazy than what mine is, right? Mine is only as crazy as it is because I do have all this offline work involved with, being part of NIJISANJI. Whereas because I have these external forces that are like, hey, we have this opportunity, there's this project, there's this, that we would love to have you do, and it has this deadline tied to it and this many deliverables tied to it. So I just have a lot of work that is, brought upon me from an external force. Whereas if you're an indie, you don't have like a team. You might not, especially, and this is more targeted towards like, more of the newer up and coming content creators, right? You probably don't have a team piling on. Sounds like it's being forced upon me. It's not. It's all voluntary. But like bringing you all these like extra curricular things, you probably don't have that. So all the stuff that you do in terms of like brainstorming ideas and schedule and whatever, that's just all on you. That's like however much time you want to apply to it. The answer to this, how much time? It's like all day. Like I stream, and then after stream, it's like going and finding clips that I want to, and cutting the clips that I know I want to edit down into content. It's coordinating with other people about collabs, weeks out in advance or whatever, or checking with people about their schedules back and forth. It's checking messages from staffs on, making sure I'm not missing any deadline. It's just, it's so much. It's so much. So I mean, and any free time, quote unquote, outside of that, I'm just resting, man. I'm just trying to get rest, do whatever I need to do to mentally reset and get ready for the next day. I'm an introvert. My social battery is really limited. So I am both recharging my social battery, getting ready to have social interactions, maybe with you, with chat, or maybe with other people if it's a collab or whatever. It is physically and mentally resting because I'm just exhausted, and I need to be able to come into the next day fresh and ready to deliver an entertainment experience. And so whatever I need to do, whatever that involves, it's usually like cuddling and petting my cats and watching anime or watching other people's streams, or maybe playing a game offline, whatever it is. So, and that in and of itself is kind of work, right? Because I'm doing that so that I can do work. It is the resting portion, honestly, is work in its own really fricked up way, right? Because I'm doing it so that I can then be ready to do more work, if that makes sense. Yeah. So that's that. Yeah, it's just all the things. Now, if I was an indie, it probably wouldn't be like that, because I'm not necessarily like, there's not like an external force like, hey, you wrote a schedule, so kind of the expectation that you've established with your audience is that you follow that schedule. So like I'd probably feel more free to like just like be like, hey, I'm gonna do this, but then actually I changed my mind. And again, no one's like, it's not like, you know, it's not like my job is like, you have to stream because you said, no, it's not like that at all. It's like, if you need time, take time off. Like absolutely, just let people know. For me, the way I operate is I just view being part of like a corpo is really helpful for me, because if I didn't have that external pressure, I 100% would be way more lazy. 100% I would just skip streams, 100% like I would cancel streams, all this kind of stuff. So this environment just helps me hold myself more accountable. And that's why I like being part of like NIJISANJI and stuff, is like, it's just a better environment for me and the way my brain works, and I know that about myself. So part of it is like, I put so much time into this is because this is like the environments I do well in to thrive, to make sure that I am being productive. Because otherwise, you know, I would say if you asked me this question as an indie, I'd be like, honestly, not a lot. But the opposite is true, because I'm here. Partly because, you know, I have all these really awesome opportunities that they're always bringing me. And so I'm agreeing to things because I'm here to do all kinds of things and have all kinds of experiences. But also, my answer is it's all the time. Like, I do so much because they're not telling me I have to do stuff, but I just like, I am more excited to do all the stuff and more willing to do all the stuff as a result. Hopefully that makes sense. I don't know if I worded that well, but yeah, I would give you two different answers depending on whether or not I was just independent doing my own thing, solo dolo lone wolf, versus where I am now. And so, like, as a content creator, your individual answer will probably be different as well, depending on your circumstance. Thank you for your question. I want to know what it's like to be a content creator / VTuber, and how do you get motivation to do something? I want to be a VTuber someday. I even started streaming as a PNG tuber. I mostly do drawing streams. Hey, cool. I keep asking to myself, how do people juggle up doing content creation, schoolwork, personal stuff, etc.? Thank you in advance. First of all, I will say wait. Dude, I'm trying to draw on the wrong thing. Hope Clara doesn't see this. She's gonna make fun of me. She's gonna be like, oh my god, it's Ryoji-san doing the pressing the paper drawn on buttons, thinking it's the laundry machine operations again. Don't show Clara that. Okay. First of all, what I want to say is, you're a VTuber. You're a PNG tuber. You're a VTuber. As far as I'm concerned, I don't think like, I mean, the semantics. People will argue, you know, there's semantics you could argue, like, oh, you don't like have moving rigged parts. I don't care, man. You're a VTuber. Congratulations. I think you're a VTuber. Don't consider yourself like, if this is your goal, don't consider I hope that you're not thinking of yourself as like some lesser form, first of all. Mostly do drawing streams, so you're an artist. Thank you for your service. I salute you. Let's go to your question. What is it like to be a content creator, and how do you get the motivation? So we've covered this a lot. Don't tie your stuff to motivation. Covered that pretty thoroughly by now. And this is why I spent so much time talking about this, is because I know this is such a common denominator for every content creator. I spent so much time ranting about motivation because this is what every content creator struggles with. We all do as creatives. And I hope that we can eventually, as a community, kind of like free ourselves from the notion that like we only make content when we're motivated. You gotta free your mind from this trap. If you're truly set on growth, if that's what you care about, and you don't have to care about that, and you don't have to care about uploading things. Again, one of the beauties of being a content creator is like all the independence and freedom that comes with it. You are not beholden to like upload constantly. You know, you don't have to be a slave to the algorithm. Just make content whenever you want, truly. So like, you can just do things only when you're motivated, when you're excited about it. But this answer changes depending on like what your driving force is. If your driving force is like growth and numbers and that kind of thing, then you need to move away from motivation and take a more serious look at like consistency. However, if that's not your driving, if you're just doing it as a hobby and for fun or whatever, then it's fine. Just do it whatever you're motivated. That's the best way. Because then as soon as you start forcing yourself to do something, it becomes less of a hobby and not as much fun. So something to just keep in mind. Being a content creator is awesome. It's the best. How do people juggle up doing content creation, school, or personal stuff? Dude, there are some freaking, I'm telling you, man, there are some superheroes out there. Just look at the people in Niji. Like, honestly, like, there's a lot of people who juggle all these things, and they're freaking superheroes in my mind, honestly. It really just boils down to time management, which I do not do well compared to like my colleagues. There are some people who have really good time management. Like, they schedule their days out to like the minute, and that's kind of like what it takes, like, in my opinion. If you are someone who is trying to do content creation alongside a bunch of other stuff, you're just gonna have to like get a calendar tool. You know, whatever that is. It could even just be physical pen and paper. But like, you will want to schedule your day out to like maybe the minute or at least the hour. You know, you have school or work from 9 to 5 a.m. or 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. or whatever. Then, you know, give yourself like an hour, maybe whatever, to eat, shower, do whatever when you get home. And then, you know, write out like, okay, for the next 2 hours or whatever, I'm gonna edit. Actually, no, here, I can even give you a better answer. Okay, so for example, let's say you know you want to make, let's see, one video that week, right? So you get home from work. So what you should do, what I would recommend, and this is something I've started to do, is you write out what you want to make, however many pieces of content. So for the most bare bones example, let's say you want to make one video and it's about game whatever. Then you write out how long you think that video is going to take you to make total. Like, and you'll have a decent sense of this after you've been doing content for a while. You'll be like, okay, I know I can turn out a video in like 3 hours or whatever. So let's just say hypothetically, you know that one video of this length that you want to make is going to take you 3 hours to make, right? And then you just break it down from there. You will break it down into like steps. So for example, if I'm making an edited piece of content, I would say, okay, I need like the gameplay footage. So I know that like I need to play the game for like 30 minutes and record, right? So like 30 minutes is just going to be recording gameplay, right? So I need 30 minutes of that to record. And then, you know, it's going to be however long is like scrubbing this 30 minutes and cutting out like dead air and whatever, you know, however long that takes. It often, for me, it takes like more. Like, it depends on like how long the thing is going to be. But I don't know, again, just hypothetical stuff. Let's say it takes 60 minutes to scrub and just find the clips of that gameplay footage that you recorded and cut out any dead air and whatever, splice everything together, and so on and so forth, right? You just write out the steps and how long you estimate it will all to take, and then that helps you figure out how to write your schedule after you do all of this stuff, right? You're like, I got home from work and I know I need to go to bed. Let's say I get home from work at 5 p.m. and I want to be in bed at 9 p.m. like a reasonable grown adult, which none of us know how to do. But let's say, so then that leaves you 4 hours to do this stuff. And maybe you don't want to tackle it all in one day because that's just too overwhelming. But maybe it is, maybe it's not. But maybe say you want to do it all in one day, so you figure out how you're going to do 3 hours of editing in that 4 hours, or you break it up into different days. Give that a shot, see how it works. Might help. Best of luck. How did you know that making content was what you wanted to do for a job? Did you always have passion for it, or is it more something you learned about yourself later in life? This is so fun. Thank you for the opportunity, Ryoshi. Yeah, I just didn't want to work a regular job. And video games was the only thing I felt good at. That's all it was, man. That's all it was. It really wasn't deeper than, I mean, it was deeper than that, but I mean, it was like, listen, I'm not particularly, I may not be a smart man. I think we've established that. I may not be a smart man. I was not good at social interactions. I was not good at sports or knowing anything about sports or literally anything else that like all my like quote unquote more normal friends were like growing up. I felt very alienated and very alone. The only thing that I had in my life that The only thing I personally felt good at was video games, because even video games I was given a lot of shit for, because it wasn't cool to like video games back then. My parents absolutely hated how much I liked video games, but it was all the only thing that like made me feel good. So like that's how I knew. It was just like I just felt like I didn't fit in with society. And that's like you know, I wasn't even thinking of it in those terms when I was younger, but like, you know, I just felt like I didn't fit in, and the only thing that I had for comfort was video games. So the idea of being able to like just be a guy who plays video games for his job was like the most appealing thing in the world, because I also honestly thought that was the only path I had available. It was the only thing I wanted to do. So yeah, I've always had that passion for it. Yeah, there it is. Thank you for your question. I'm an introvert that's interested in starting gaming channel / stream, but I'm worried about the social aspect of it. I feel ya. And maintaining my comfort level. Do you have any tips I can use to manage the social interactions and still enjoy the streaming experience? Wow, this is such a good question. Oh my god, this is a really good question. Sorry, let me take a sip. So the thing you'll find, and again, I don't have empirical evidence for this. This is just anecdotal. However, I'd be willing to bet my lunch money as the card swiping Ronin that the majority of content creators you're gonna find in this space are introverts. I think it's just like, I think it's a very common thread between a lot of people in this space is that we're just introverts, quite frankly. So what I would say is if you're someone who admires a lot of content creators, you're probably, I'd be willing to bet that you're someone's like, oh man, I love so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so, and I really look up to them and I want to be like them. Hopefully, and sorry if I'm jumping to a conclusion here, but I hope that you don't view this as like a negative thing or think of yourself less because you're an introvert, because I guarantee you, I'm willing to bet that like the people you look up to are also introverts. So this is not like a detrimental thing in any way. Just in case. Sorry if I'm jumping to a conclusion there, making an assumption, but I just want to like hopefully give you that comfort that this is not a bad thing. It does make our lives harder, absolutely, but it's a much more common thing in this space than you might expect. Worried about the social aspect of it, maintaining my comfort level. Yeah, this is just your social battery. Part of it. Part of this is just your social battery. If you're an introvert, you're going to have a limited social battery, and it's going to be smaller than the people that we look at and we consider quote unquote normal, who are a little bit more on the extroverted side of the spectrum. So you just have to be aware. Just be aware that you have a social battery, and like think about like what you're like, try to think about like, is that lightning bolt? Yeah, it's pretty good. Try to determine your own personal social battery and what capacity you have for social interaction, because streaming absolutely drains your social battery. I know it might not seem like it because we consider like social interaction being like interpersonal, face-to-face. That's not the case in streaming and stuff. Like me sitting here with all of you in chat, this is 100% a social interaction as far as my social battery considers it. Maybe logically, you know, to the rest of the world that doesn't make sense, but that's not the important thing. It's like my social battery gets drained. So yeah, trying to maintain it is really important. That's why VTubing is awesome, honestly. VTubing, or even just like GIF tubers or PNG tubers, I think even have even more of an advantage, honestly, because even there are days legitimately where I'm like, what if I just streamed without my model turned on? Because even me doing this thing where I'm like, you know, controlling my expressions and stuff for part of like the, you know, communicating my body language to all of you, this drains my social battery, man. So I legitimately have lots of days where I'm like, what if I just streamed with my model turned off, you know? So I'm just aware that that's the thing that like I have to be cognizant of and maintain. This is a lot less draining, however, than if I was a face cam streamer, with my actual real, you know, flesh face on camera. That's even more, I personally find that way even more draining. So if you want to be a content creator, just be aware that like you might find that really drains your battery fast. And if that's the case, you may need to find alternatives. VTubing is a great one. If you find VTubing and controlling a model and its expressions exhausting, consider something like GIF tubing or PNG tubing, where it's a cute static image, but you don't have to worry about controlling like the facial expressions or body language of it, because that's even less, that takes even like less energy in my experience, in my opinion. And if that even feels like too much, then just consider don't like have a camera at all, you know? That's an option. And you just experiment and see what gives you the most comfort to let you enjoy the streaming experience. Because truly, this is what it's all about, right? The most important thing is that you're enjoying the experience. So do whatever you need to do in terms of your presentation to like maximize your enjoyment. Again, this kind of goes, there's this really common thing I see a lot these days where it's like people feel really pressured to deliver a certain type of experience to their audience, like create content in a very specific way, because for whatever reason they heard somebody somewhere in some video or on some Reddit thread or Twitter thread say, okay, but if you want to be successful, you have to do it this way. And people just are like, okay, that's the formula for success, you know? The reality is, in my experience of all the years doing this, from what I've seen, is that, again, there is an audience for everything. Any way that you make your content, there is an audience. Just certain types of content and presentations just take a little bit longer to develop that audience or to let those fans find you. So you just have to have the patience for that. You got to ask yourself if you want it bad enough, if you're willing to put that time into it as well. A lot of people get caught up in like the rat race and trying to grow as fast as possible. And that's just not how this space works, in my opinion. That's how you burn out. That's how you flame out of the race, is if you run the race at all, in my opinion. So this is great. I love this question because this just feels like someone coming from like a really innocent, like fresh, you know, start, where it's just like, if you're just someone who just, even, you know, you're like more introverted, but you're interested in this, just freaking go for it. You know, just do it. Again, like I said earlier in the stream, there's no like prerequisites. There's no like barrier to entry really these days. Just go do it. But do it so that you're having fun. That's the most important thing. Always do it so that you're having fun. Don't think that you need to, you know, incorporate a huge social aspect. Don't feel like you need to do it with a face cam or a VTuber model or whatever. That's going to kill your enjoyment of it. Is you want to do this and you want to have fun. But if you try to craft your journey and your experience based on like what you think other people expect, you're not going to have fun. It's going to suck. So my advice to you is try to avoid that pitfall. That's very easy to slip into, where you think, okay, the only way I'm going to be able to enjoy doing this is by doing it this certain way and presenting my stuff this certain way and blah, 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 blah. Nah. If you're someone who's interested in just making gaming content, just get out there and do it. And literally, people are like, okay, but you have to be super interactive and you have to like read everybody's messages and reply to everybody and try to be super entertaining. And it's like, yeah, sure. If your goal is to, you know, have this thing be more than just a hobby and you want this thing to maybe be a career, or you maybe are really focused on like growing and hitting certain milestones, then yeah, you know, there's quote unquote best practices that will help you hit those, you know, mile markers. But truly, I think the thing that we've gotten so far away from, that I wish we had more of, that I would love to see more, because I just, dude, again, I've been doing this for a really long time and it makes me really sad and kind of disillusioned, because all I see these days on social, I cannot scroll on Twitter, because all of Twitter is a bunch of content creators just doom posting about how miserable they are and how unsuccessful they are and how they wish they had, you know, they aren't achieving their goals, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, I feel like somehow we've gotten so far away from this just pure enjoyment of like, hey, I just want to make gaming content or whatever content, right? For me, gaming content I find the most relatable because, you know, I was talking about how like that's what inspired me initially. But like I feel like people have just gotten the wrong. This is just my take. This is my personal opinion, but all I see are people who are obsessed with like the numbers game and becoming a big creator or whatever, quote unquote, making it. And it's like, why are you even doing this? You're just miserable. Everybody's just miserable. Like, from my perspective, I would love to see more people who are just out there just doing this for fun, because they just are like, they're like, hey, I like gaming and I want to like do this. You probably don't even necessarily care if people watch it. You know, if you can get back to this is freaking awesome. You can get back to this where you're not caring about whether or not you're delivering things in a certain way that's optimal, quote unquote, for growth and numbers. If you can get away from that, you are going to enjoy your time, right? And that's, to me, like that most pure basic form of like content creation is so beautiful and awesome. And if you can do this, then there is a good chance too that like the stuff that everyone's chasing will follow eventually. Like I said, like there's an audience for everybody. Some things just take longer for that audience to find you, but they're out there. There's something to be said about like, I remember I came across a channel, like I saw a clip of a channel where it was like, it was someone playing a video game on like a TV in their living room, and they had the camera pointed at like a mirror. So like the mirror was reflecting the game. Like they didn't have like a fancy setup. It was literally just a mirror, and the camera's pointed at the mirror and the mirror was pointed at the TV. So you could see what was on the TV in the reflection of the mirror. No overlays, no nothing, like nothing fancy, you know? And I was like, this is freaking awesome, because it's just this person. They don't care about anything. They're just playing the game and they just want to share their gameplay and they're just having fun. And like, there's something so incredibly endearing about that we have like, I feel like we've lost, and I love to see that. This is just me ranting about like my personal preference, but like that just makes me really happy to see. I think that's cool, because you know that person is doing that purely out of like this sort of like thing. It's like, hey, I don't know, I just want to try this content creation thing. I just want to like stream my gameplay, you know? And they didn't let all of the stuff where it's like, okay, but you need to have overlays, you need to have really fancy animated alerts and blah blah blah. It's like, nah, they just went out and did it, and it was cool. And like, I guarantee you, if they keep doing that, they're gonna get an audience. Like those kind of people, like, again, because there's something really endearing about that, like pure just enjoyment of like just sharing your gameplay. I think it's cool. I'm really biased towards that, because that's like the kind of stuff I want to make, and that's the kind of stuff that inspired me when I was growing up. So I'm biased towards that. So thanks for letting me just rant about that, but like that's what I think is cool personally. So like, hopefully that helps give some context to like the perspectives that I give when I answer these questions. But yeah, I love seeing people kind of get back to that. It's cool. And like I said, by all standards of like quote unquote best practices these days, that shouldn't be successful, and that shouldn't even work at all. But like, that's just other people's opinions, man. If that's what you want to make, just freaking get out there and make it, dude. It's cool. And eventually people will find it, probably. Good question. Best of luck on your journey. I encourage you to get out there and just do it. If you were to restart your content creator career, what would you do differently from the start? Hindsight's always 20/20 with stuff, right? Ooh, what would I do differently? From the start. I mean, obviously all the things that I've said on this stream so far, I would tell myself. The things I would do differently. Okay. The thing I would do differently. How do I answer this? Because obviously being a corpo, I don't want to like dox my PL stuff. How do I answer this? in prior, perhaps in a past different universe, a different dimension of existence, I would say my advice to up and coming content creators is be wary of time. Okay, so a couple things. I would say be wary of like tying your content to one game. Like, how do I describe this? Don't let your contents as well as your personality, because your personality, I can't spell, bro. Personality be tied to like a game. Like a game genre, not so bad, but like a specific game is really risky, right? Because if that game goes kaput and you've built an audience entirely upon the premise of like they're there for your personality isn't even like a great example. Actually, scratch that. To an extent, but more importantly, if your audience is built specifically around they just come and watch you for your content for a specific game, there's a danger in this, because if that game ever goes kaput or falls off or becomes less popular or whatever, you go with it, right? This is really risky. And this is challenging because a lot of the quote unquote best practice you'll find out there is pick a game or pick a niche or pick a genre and stick to it. And the reason why that's a really common piece of advice that floats around is because, yes, in a way, if you are chasing rapid growth, that is a strategy. And it is one that can result in faster growth than like other methods. Because if you think about it, right, it's like it's very easy. You find a clip, like let's say you're scrolling on YouTube Shorts and you see a clip of someone playing a game that you like and you go, oh, hey, I like this person's gameplay. You click to their profile and then you go, oh, great, cool. All of their content is for this one game. This is really easy for me to understand. I will follow this person and I want to see more of this specific game that I'm really into. Right? And so that's the idea behind that strategy of like picking a niche or picking a genre, or more importantly, picking a specific game and just like only pumping out content for that, is because it narrows that barrier to entry to understanding what your channel is about. And it also really, again, you're kind of, you got to be careful. You're slipping into the pitfall of like thinking, if we go back to that one question I answered earlier about like tying the quality of your content, your perception of your quality of your content to your viewership counts. This is the same kind of thing where the algorithm, it makes it, if you only make content for like one game, it makes it really easy for the algorithm to understand what you do and where to deliver your content. So yes, you experience that more rapid growth because the algorithm hits more precisely, more frequently. It goes, oh, this creator makes this specific game content. We will only push this content to people who like that game. And then it's just more consistent. It's easier for the algorithm to understand. It's more likely to put your video in front of people who do, in fact, like who are always watching that type of content for that game. So then, yeah, then you get more subscribers and viewers and blah, blah, blah. So yes, it does help. However, it's a pitfall, because if that game goes kaput, then all like, you know, what are you going to do? Then you start making content for a different game. And then everyone who followed you and found you because the algorithm pushed your content to them because it knew they were watching content for that game and you also make content for that game. They're like, well, now you're making stuff for a game that I don't care about. So unfollow or stop watching, you know? So this is a really dangerous pitfall. So I would go back in time and tell myself, or this is my advice to all of you up and coming creators, be very wary of this. Yes, it's an easy way to grow. However, you're putting all your eggs in one basket and you never know. A game that, God, we've been seeing it with so much lately as well, where like a game that you think is doing really well could just literally just poof out of nowhere, because who knows, it gets acquired, like the studio gets acquired by private equity or something, or there's so many factors as to why a game might just go, you know, plummet out of nowhere. You just never know. It's too risky. So I don't recommend it. Try to diversify your content. Variety content is always considered the harder way to grow. You'll hear this conversation a lot, like variety is probably the dream. However, most people put aside their pursuit of variety because they just aren't growing as fast as they want. So they tend to lean more towards this type of strategy, you know? And again, because then you're running the rat race. And again, I think running the rat race at all is a pitfall. But that's just my personal opinion. So that's one thing. That's a really big thing. Make sure in a similar vein, I would say make sure that, like, in a very similar vein, I would say make sure that people are coming to your channel not less for your content, more for who you are as a person, your personality, if possible. Ideally, less of this and more of this, because this is more flexible. If people like your personality, they like how funny you are, or the way you talk, or the insights you have, or whatever. It could be anything. This allows you to like branch out into like more different types of games and different types of content. Whereas if they only come for like a specific type of content, whether it's a specific game or a specific genre, you have way less flexibility to branch out. You're kind of like stuck on one path, more or less. And trust me, I've seen it happen so many times where then this person says, well, I'm kind of done with this and I want to go do this. And this journey off into this new direction is so painful for so many people because their viewership plummets. And trust me, as content creators, we don't want to, but we are tied to our numbers. We live and die by viewership numbers, and their mental just plummets. And I've seen so many people where this leads them to quit. They just get burned out. They quit. I've seen it. I've lost so many friends over the years who I've seen have this happen, where they did this. They put all their eggs in like one basket because that's what everyone told them to do. And at some point they started getting burned out on, because, like, you know, you get bored of doing the same thing all the time sometimes. And they said, and this puts you in this really annoying trap of like, you're like, man, I'm kind of sick of doing this same thing. And I really want to do this, but every time I do this, my viewership drops and it feels terrible and it just kills my mental. So then I go back to making myself do more of this, but then I'm just even more miserable doing this because I'm just starting to hate it and resent it even more. So eventually then they really try to make the push to go over here, but this whole audience that they built up around this just doesn't migrate over, because who can blame them? Your audience isn't beholden to like follow you wherever you go, right? They're welcome to just consume whatever they think is entertaining at the time. And that's what a lot of people do. They just say, okay, we're going to do this now. I don't really drive with that. So I'm just going to go watch this other person that I follow that still is making this stuff. So viewership plummets, their mental plummets, they give up, they quit, they burn out. It sucks. It's a super harsh, sad reality, but I've seen it so many times in my life. And it sucks. So again, if you can, try to make sure that you are really pushing your personality versus the content that you make, if possible. This should be the goal. This gives you flexibility to do whatever you want. This is more sustainable. This is more fun. So those are some things I would say I would do differently. Another thing that you might find, some creators out there might find relatable, be really wary of, like, how do I describe this? Of like, it sounds super counterintuitive, guys, but just hear me out. Like goal pushes. For example, maybe you really want to get something like YouTube partner, or what I see most frequently, the Purple website, Twitch partner. This one in particular, I see a lot. This is a dangerous pitfall. You might be like, why? Twitch partner is the goal for so many live streamers out there, because it's sort of like the gold standard for like quote unquote feeling like you've made it, right? So you see a lot of people make Twitch partner pushes, which is not a bad thing. What I would advise, I'm not knocking this. What I'm saying is be really careful and have a plan for what happens once you reach this goal. Actually, not just that. Okay, there's a couple things. Number one, as soon as you set this as your goal, you have to be really careful, because you are mentally tying your value to your numbers. Because there is a very specific, I don't remember what it is, but there's a very specific threshold of numbers that you have to even qualify to apply for this. So whether you like it or not, mentally, you are placing a number value on how you feel about your success and feel about yourself. And it's going to be really hard if you can disconnect yourself from this. But trust me, I've seen it so many times. It's going to be really hard for you to disconnect that. If you can, great. My advice is be very cognizant of this and be very careful of this. Because if you don't make Twitch partner a lot of people will say, hi, I want to get Twitch partner by this date, right? This is my goal. I want to get Twitch partner by X date. And if you don't make this, then you feel bad. And why do you feel bad? Because you didn't get the numbers that were expected of you. And then you think, okay, well, I'm bad. I'm a bad content creator because I didn't get these numbers and didn't get this goal by this date. And like I said, like I ranted about in the beginning, like don't tie your self-worth to that kind of thing. It's only going to make you miserable. The other thing to be careful of that I don't think I've really seen enough people talk about is maybe you do get Twitch partner. Yay! How do I draw the like little celebration thing? Little party popper. Yay! Confetti! Whippy! That's so bad. This little confetti party popper. Okay, you make Twitch partner. You did it. You achieved the goal. You got the numbers and by X date and you got the partnership. Yay! You know what I've also seen happen? What should be a really momentous, exciting thing is like people quit. People get burned out because what happens is everybody, when you were making this push, you probably maybe even got some new viewers and new followers. Everyone likes to rally behind a cause, right? Everybody likes to like back somebody up who's going for a goal. So you get this like spike in like viewership, right? You get this like spike in viewership and like support. And you kind of like, you're growing. That's like pretty steep. It's more like this probably, right? Like you're grinding. Everyone's like behind you and supporting you. And then everyone's like, yeah, you got partner. Okay, the excitement's gone, right? This happens a lot. This is a real thing. You get the goal. Everyone that was there who was invested in that journey to get the goal, yay, we did it. Okay, cool. And then they move on with their lives, right? The whole excitement around this is gone. This was the main focus of your content for a while. And this is what got everyone invested and involved. And then it's done. You achieved the goal. So people move on to whatever the next exciting thing is that's got their attention. And so I've seen this happen so many times where people do the partner push. They get the partner, great. And then people move on. And this person, the creator, is still like, hey, where'd everybody go? Oh, I'm watching all my numbers drop. Trust me, again, as a content creator, watching your viewership drop is mental anguish. And then, and again, because they're tying you fall into the pitfall that I keep warning you about of your value being tied to numbers. You feel bad about yourself. You feel bad about your content. You feel lost. You don't know what to do. It's just not going back up to here anymore. And then they just like quit. Or they are forever confused from this point forward. And they are forever questioning their own worth. They are forever questioning the things that they do. And yeah, this is just this kind of thing is like, it has a lot of risks if you're not wary of them. So I would just caution when you consider doing this kind of thing. You're going to get that temporary bump probably. So have a plan. If you can, have a plan for when immediately once you hit the goal, have a plan for the next thing that's going to keep people invested and hopefully even continue attracting more people. A lot of people don't have a plan for this. This is like all they've been thinking about and obsessing over. And then they get it. And then it's like, there's no what's next. You have to have something big planned for immediately after to keep retain the viewership and ideally continue to grow over time as well. Just keep thinking about what you're going to do and keep things exciting for people and interesting. But a lot of people, a lot of people think, in my perception, that once they get partner, they're set. They think that like partner is just infinite growth from that point forward. You hit partner right here and it's just to the moon, right? And that's not the case. Hitting something like partner is like just the starting line, you know? Once you get partner, you got to work even harder. you're already kicking your own butt trying to get to that, but get ready. Then it's like, if you want to, you got to keep going, man. It's not like you get partner and then all of a sudden your inbox is flooded with sponsorship opportunities and collab opportunities and viewers. Oh my God, that guy's got the partner badge, whether it's on YouTube or Twitch, and the viewers just keep coming and coming and coming. It's like, no, like you got to work even harder at that point. So just have a plan. That's all I'm saying, is like, have a plan. Be wary of these pitfalls, because I've seen it happen so many times. Have a plan. Just realize that this kind of thing, getting your fancy check mark or badge or whatever, is not the end all be all. It does not suddenly make you a more valuable content creator. It suddenly does not make you a better or different content creator. It's just a cool milestone, and you get the cool pixels. You get some extra pixels next to your name. But be really careful about sacrificing your mental health in the process of chasing those extra pixels, right? That's all I'm saying. There you go. So those are some things I would do differently. Thank you for your question. That was a really good one. As a VTuber, using a model that may look different than your actual self, do you ever feel any dysmorphia from this, or from having essentially two identities? Or is this easy to just compartmentalize and just turn it off once you stop streaming? This is a really good question. I think this varies from person to person. I don't really think about it in terms of like the visual aspect, if that makes sense. Like, I am not a sword carrying ronin in real life. I've never once felt like that. Being, you know, me. But I could see how this might be a different case for some people. Like, I think it would be different if I was more of a character that I leaned really heavily into, that was different from my normal quote unquote everyday personality. The thing is, like, what you see, I've told you all this from the beginning, what you see on this stream is what you get. This is just me. Like, I don't really play a different character. Like, this is me. I'm not particularly smart. I'm not book smart. I'm not good at math. Like, you know, like, it's just me. It's just me. The personality, I don't put on like a different personality for streams or anything like that. So for me, I don't feel different than my actual self because I'm just me. Now, if I've heard of this from people where they do play a character, and some people, like, they do put on a different personality, and I have heard of people who were like, sometimes they're like, yeah, man, I catch myself being that way in real life. Like, sometimes, like, because I just forget, because I'm more live and putting on a show than I'm not live putting on a show, you know? So I could see how that can happen for some people. For me personally, it's not really an issue. And like, that's also deliberate, because again, I've been doing this for a really long time, and I know that it's like, for me, like, content creation is a lot about trying to maximize your sustainability as a creator, like not getting burnt out and just having fun and enjoying it. And so it's like, for me, I know, like, for me, it'd be really hard for me to do that a lot, you know, because I know I have a really short social battery, as an example. So if I was trying to act, like, streams would have to be so much shorter, because I would not be able to maintain that act, because my social battery would just run out even faster than it already does. You know what I mean? So yeah. So for me personally, no, I don't find that to be an issue, but I could absolutely see how it might be for some people. Thank you for your question. Hey there, Ryoshi J here. This is gonna be a bit lengthy and extensive, so here goes. What is your driving force for content creation? Is content creation your main source of income? How do you keep yourself afloat with content creation? I want to try getting into it, but I realized how niche my interests are, so I'm a bit scared to even try it at the beginning. So again, this thing, I almost drew on the wrong thing again, but I caught myself because I'm learning. Always be learning, chat. 1% better every single day. So for this part, the niche you're interested in, again, what I would say is, and I see this happen a lot, and I hear about this happening a lot, don't stop yourself. Don't kill your idea before it even happens, right? Yes, it's totally normal to have doubts about things and to overanalyze things. We all do it. Just do the thing. Don't judge a piece of content or whatever you're gonna make before you've even made it and be like, well, it's just not gonna do well, so I'm not gonna try. So I encourage you, Yeah, you've got niche interests. That's awesome, man. Like, again, there's literally an audience out there for everything. Some things just take a little bit longer for that audience to find you because it's so niche, but they're out there. And if that's what you want to do and you want to make content for like a specific niche because you find it fun and interesting, then do it, man. Do it. You'll have to work a little bit harder to get that in front of the right eyeballs, and it'll take a little bit longer than maybe other people and their content creation path choices. But it's going to be doing what you really want to do, and you're going to have more fun with it. So I encourage you to just go for it. As far as driving force, I've talked about this. I just want to play video games, man. That's all I've been good at in my life. And his content creation. So this is a really interesting thing. Here's my take on this. I will not disclose personally, like what my sources of income are, how much I make, that kind of thing. And I'll explain why. And this is not going to be true for everybody, but my perspective on this from a content creator's perspective is like, there's no gain to disclosing whether or not content creation is your main source of income, how much money you make, blah, blah, blah. Like it doesn't really serve any benefit. This is something I would argue if you're a content creator, this is one of those cards that you should play close to your chest, right? You know what I mean? Like, don't like tip your hand to anybody, because there is a possibility that like if you're someone who is a content creator and you want to, for example, maybe get sponsorship opportunities and try to make money that way, if you're someone who like lets it be known that like maybe like think of it this way. Let's say you're like I hate saying smaller creator. That's a stupid way to try to. Let's say you're like an upcoming content creator. You're still growing. You're still in your early phase, and you were approached by a potential sponsor, and there's money involved in that deal. There's a chance that they lowball you on their offer because they go, well, and they're not going to say this to you, but the person writing up the details is going to be like, well, this person, you know, is like smaller relative to like some of the other people we work with, and this is probably their main source of income. So they're probably really desperate for this opportunity. So we could definitely get this person at a lower cost than someone else, right? You know, because they're just going to be way more hungry, and they're going to take this. They're going to be more eager to take whatever number we throw at them. So why should we overspend when we could probably actually cut costs here? That's a possible scenario, right? So it doesn't really like benefit you as a creator in any way to like disclose how much you normally make. Like, don't give, when you're going into negotiations, don't let them have any ammo at all, right? Don't let them know what you normally make. Don't let them know if that's like what you're really depending on. Like, you just only weaken your position in negotiations if you put that info out there. So again, just I personally, my recommendation to fellow creators is like, just don't disclose that. There's no reason to. It doesn't benefit. And if you're someone who makes lots of money, then you're just flexing and you look like you're bragging, and that's not very endearing either, in my opinion. So yeah, that's kind of the truth. So yeah, exactly. Bargaining power. Like, so hold on to your bargaining power. Don't tip your hand. There's no reason to. It only serves to hurt you. I really can't think of any benefit for like, as a creator, like disclosing that kind of thing. So yeah, there's my answer. But yeah, thank you for your question. That's a really good one. And yeah, so that's my advice to fellow creators. Don't like disclose the stuff. And yeah, if you've got a niche, don't be scared, man. Don't do this. Don't be scared to try it, even to try it out to begin with. Go for it. Do it. Do the thing. Do you have any tips for someone who wants to start content creation? Also, hi, you're really cool. Oh, thank you. Yeah, do the thing. Just do the thing. Just get out there and make stuff, and make it in a way that you find fun and that you find enjoyable. And don't base, like, so many people these days think how do I describe? People are like, oh, how do I be a content creator? And then everyone, there's so much like, okay, do this, and this. And then they go, okay, so that's how I have to do it to be a content creator. It's like, nah, just do whatever you want. Like I was saying, like, again, the barrier to entry these days is incredibly low. Like everybody probably has a phone with a camera. That's where you can just start out. Like, and you're a content creator. Just do whatever you want, man. There's so much, even this stream, right? Like you can take this stream with a huge grain of salt. And I won't blame anybody for that. Because the reality is that, like, I'm just sharing, all I'm doing is I'm just sharing my experiences and my perspectives. These are just my personal opinions. The fact is, like, there's so much stuff out there where it's like, okay, if you want to be a content creator, you want to be successful, you do this. You follow these steps, you do these best practices, you upload this specific kind of content on these days at this specific time, you tag them this way, you rate your titles this way, you make your thumbnails this way. The reality is, if that truly was the formula for success, everybody would be successful, right? People would not have a problem achieving their milestone goals and hitting partner and monetization on platforms and making it their career. If that's all there was to it, then everybody would be where they want to be at. But the reality is that the vast majority of people are not where they want to be at. So don't get caught up in all that. Is my personal take. Is like, don't get caught up in all that. Just like focus on like doing things that you think are fun. Ultimately, in my opinion, it boils down to just doing things that you think are fun. And that's what will carry you. In my opinion. Because I also think like we've hit that point with how saturated the space is, where everybody is doing the exact same thing because that's what's been established as quote unquote the best practices. So everybody's just carbon copies and just doing all the same stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you just have to recognize that like, like, is that fun? I don't know. Are people doing it because it's fun? I feel like this is me ranting from just like the doom scrolling, like doom posting I see, but like, I just get the sense when I look at people on Twitter and stuff that they aren't having fun. And then so my question would be like, okay, then why are we doing all this then if we're not having fun? Why are we torturing ourselves if we're not having fun? Isn't the point to just have fun making content, whatever that entails for you? For me, it's gaming. For other people, it could be, you know, art. It could be crafts. It could be whatever. Like, isn't the point to just have fun? Like, I feel like we got so far away from that and it makes me sad. So yeah, just get out there and do the thing. Focus on whatever you want to make. And it'll be cool. It'll be cool because you're making it. Okay? Thank you for your question. Hola, Ryoshi. Hola! Buenos dias! I had to think about that one, sorry. How do you manage to create content consistently and also have time for yourself or RL stuff? Please give us tips. Oh yeah, I mean, I answered this one a lot, so I won't go into this one too much, but again, deadlines. For me personally, I need deadlines and I need an external force enforcing that deadline, and that is how I make things. That's what works for me. Hello Ryoma, I know you're still pretty new debut wise, but you've already experienced NIJISANJI culture for quite a while now. I was wondering if you had any expectations going into Niji, whether they be the Niji audience that were already there as you debuted, how your work as a content creator is approached, how you were treated as coworkers by fellow livers and management. If you had them, were your expectations met, or were you disappointed in any way, or were they exceeded? It might be a long answer. I'm sorry. No, it's okay. Oh my god, I have to reread it because it fell out of my head. I love ADHD so much. Okay, let's like do this so I can like break it up. So like this kind of thing, how I was treated by everybody, I almost swore. Incredible. Like incredible. Like definitely exceeded my expectations. Yeah, I've just had an awesome experience. Me and the rest of Denauth, you'll probably hear us rant about it a lot, but like we've just been treated really well. It's been so professional, and like they bend over backwards and they go out of their way for us for so many things. They're so supportive. I know that like our manager is always like going and making friends, trying to make friends with like other people at the office and like different departments, so that way if we ever need anything from another department than what she specializes in, like she's got contacts and she's got relationships and she's got friendship with those people, so she can get us the help that we need, you know. Like everybody works their butt off, and it's so reassuring and awesome. And then of course all the livers are just incredible, man. I look up to everybody here. Like, dude, everyone is so freaking skilled and is so good at, is like constantly like honing their crafts and improving their skills and just leveling up. And again, that's why I wanted to join Niji, because I just had the suspicion that this would be the environments that I needed to kick my butt to like grow and improve as a creator. You know, just being on my own, I was very like stagnated and just like I've talked about, like I wasn't adhering to like even my own deadlines that I would set for myself. And when you're alone doing things independently, like it's different than when you're surrounded by a bunch of people kicking ass like 24/7. You know what I mean? You're like, okay, all right, it's time to get in gear. You know, like I don't want to get left behind. I'm watching all these people level up. I'm watching people manage their daily lives with whatever else they have going on, like down to the minute. Like everyone's working on cool projects. Everybody's honing their singing and their Japanese and thinking of cool extreme ideas and blah, blah, blah. Just like everything. Like it's such a cool, good environments for me to be in. So yeah, it's been awesome. I love it here. So that was kind of my hope. That was my hope, and it has met and exceeded that expectation. Like I'm working harder than I've ever worked as a content creator in all the years that I've been doing this, now that I'm here. So it's awesome because I knew this is the environment. Well, I didn't know that this is what it would be like, but I had my suspicions just looking at people from the outside and how hard they seem to be working. And yeah, it's even more than I expected, and it's given me that environment I was hoping for. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's affected so much. And of course the audience, dude, best audience in the world, man. I freaking love you guys so much. I hope you know that. You've all been incredible and supportive and welcoming, and I appreciate you all so much. You know this. I try to say it as much as I can. Hopefully it doesn't get old, but like I am really, and even like me being able to have this stream and like share my perspectives and stuff, like I know that like I hope that people don't look at me, please. I hope, again, I'm trying to like share just like my insights and my personal perspectives. I really hope, and some people will probably think this, and I can't help that, but I really hope that people don't look at this and they're like, oh well, he's like in a really privileged position because he's a Niji to like say those kind of things and give those perspectives. It's like, yeah, I'm very cognizant of how lucky I am, you know, to be where I am and to have the support that I do now from all of the audience, all of the Niji fans, all of you guys. Like I am very cognizant of the fact that like I am incredibly lucky, right? Like it'd be really interesting to see like a number, to be able to tie like a number, like what percentage of content creators get to this point where they are part of like a large corpo. Like if we just like even just the VTuber like sub like culture of content creation, like I wonder what that percentage would look like, what that number would look like. The people who get to this point of being in like this company or a large, you know, VTuber agency with the kind of support that I have. Like I'm very aware that like the experience that I'm having is an incredibly rare, fleeting opportunity. So I'm just here to make the most of that and to do the best that I can and to show my appreciation and show my gratitude where gratitude is due. And that's just the VTubing like subculture of content creation. That number would be even smaller if you considered like all of content creation. It's a crazy rare opportunity, and I'm very aware of that. I'm very grateful for it. Panic, thank you so much for the Memby. Welcome. Welcome. Thank you. But yeah, everything has been freaking awesome, and I love it here. Thank you for your question. How are you doing this fine day, fellow Ryoma and Ryonins? How would you get back into doing creative things after you've not been doing creative things for a long time, like long while? It's been a bit under a year for me, but I know people who've had a 5-year break. Thanks for your time. Oh, yeah. Oh, and remember to hydrate. Yeah. Remember to hydrate. Remember to stay moist, everybody. This is a really good one. The hardest thing to do when you've taken a break Because like literally, I mean, a year is a long time for sure, but even like a day, even 3 days sometimes for people, and this is my experience, you could go like 3 days. You can take like a 3-day break, and sometimes hitting the start streaming button even after like this small amount of time is, I swear to God, the hardest thing in the world. I'm sure there are content creators out there who might see this and be like, that's like super relatable. I bet it's relatable for a lot of people. It doesn't matter how like short the time frame is, it's gonna feel like this weird mental block, and I don't know why. Leo, thank you so much for the Memby. Welcome to the Rionins. I appreciate it. Thank you. So yeah, I can only imagine how like exponentially harder that feels after a year or a 5-year break. For sure. For sure. I guess it's really hard. Hopefully me describing this though, like just remember that like whether it's 3 days or a year or 5 years, you could obviously you're gonna have that difficulty of hitting like the start streaming button or record button after this long of a time, but just remember like you can also experience that same exact block at like 3 days, right? I'm not saying this to downplay or diminish someone's experience, but the point I'm trying to drive across is like you're gonna experience this block whether it's been a year, 5 years, or 3 days sometimes. And the way that you get over that block is always still gonna be the same. You just press the damn button. You just press the damn button. You just do it. It's the same thing this is the same way that like my advice to like new people considering even starting content creation from scratch is like you just do the thing. There's no real other way around it. I wish I had some magical like piece of advice, some like magical cure, but I don't really think it exists. Because again, you'll experience this block at like even 1 day of not streaming. Maybe 3 days. You're gonna run into that wall. So if that's the case, whether it's been a year or 1 year or 1 day, you know, the way back into it is gonna be the same regardless of the time. Like you just press the damn button and start streaming, or you start recording. You know? That's, in my opinion, that's I know that's not great advice. I'm sorry if that's not super helpful, but in my time, in my experience, I haven't really found a way around it. Because if you, what I've seen and experienced, I've experienced it personally, and I've seen other friends try to find their way around this. That answer I gave is shit, right? Let's not mince words. But if you spend a bunch of time, like, you're just gonna spend a bunch of time searching for like a more magical solution, you're not gonna find it. You're just not gonna find it. And that's how the year turns into 2 years, turns into 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. You just keep wandering around thinking there's some sort of like magical way to break past the wall and like go live again. You're gonna really struggle to find it. In my experience, you just gotta get back on the horse and do it. And then once you do it, hopefully what you find is you remember like, oh yeah, like I do this because, and hopefully your hiatus from making content and getting away from all the rat race shit, hopefully in that time away, you kind of, your head gets cleared, and when you kind of reapproach content creation, you go like, oh yeah, like the reason why I was burnt out or whatever was because I was tired of like trying to follow all the advice of like over optimizing everything, like min maxing all of my content. And somehow, possibly, and this is me just speaking, this is my experience again. I'm injecting my experience, so I apologize. But this is, you know, this is just how it's my experience, so this is how I approach answering things. You know, it's like, you started over here at point A of just wanting to do things for fun, and somehow, in your time, you ended up way the frick over here, and you're not happy. So then that led you on to your little hiatus journey, trying to find a way, you know, to get back into it. And maybe it's possible that what you really needed to do is just abandon all the other noise that's over here and just get back to point A. Just doing stuff to have fun and not caring about anything. I think part of why some people find it hard to come back to is because we think as content creators, well, we took a break, whether it's a day, 3 days, a year, 5 years, and when we took the break, we lost all the progress that we were working really hard on. And we know that when we come back, you know, maybe the viewership or whatever is not going to be the same. And we fear that, which again, it goes back to like, it's the pitfall of like tying your value to numbers, right? That I keep harping about. So if you can abandon that, if you can disconnect from that and just get back to, okay, here's a really good, okay, I think I've thought of the way I want to describe it. When I started content creation, I mean, I knew that I would, my dream, of course, was to like do it like as my job, but how do I describe this? When I look back on my journey as a creator, I actually, okay. How do I think about this? Sorry. Going into the tank here. Like, I was just happy that things were happening. I was just happy that like I was getting subs and that I was getting views. Like, if you were to ask, I think if you were to ask a lot of content creators right now, hey, are you happy with your viewership? Are you happy right now with your view count, your sub count, your follower count, whatever? I bet a lot of people, I'm sure there are people out there who are happy, but I bet a lot of people would tell you that they're not happy. Because their sights are set higher. Whatever view count they're at right now, I bet they're unhappy with. And I bet they're like, man, I wish I was like up there. This is a trap that every content creator falls into, myself included. We all fall into this trap of being like, okay, I'm here right now, but I would love to be way up here. But when I actually look back and I think about when I first started out, I was happy. I was really happy. I was shocked and amazed that like I was getting any views at all on my videos. And that was cool. I didn't care. I was never thinking about, when I was thinking about content creation when I was young and I was starting out, I was never thinking about like, you know, like, that's a bad. I never thought about it as like, okay, I'm here, like on view counts, but man, I wish I was up here. I was never thinking about it that way.
But it's so fascinating to hear such detailed advice from you. Thank you for the lecture, Ryoma Sensei.
Thanks, Edith, for, wow, thank you for the tip. Holy cow, I appreciate that. I'm glad you're having fun. I'm glad that you're finding this insightful. But yeah, this is like my advice to my fellow creators is like, when I look back on my journey, when I was young and starting out, I was just happy that I was getting this at all. And I was never thinking about this, where I was like, I'm here, or I want to be here. So this is another big piece of advice I would like to give to other creators, or like my recommendation is like, think about that. If I asked you right now, hey, are you happy as a content creator? And you go, no, I'm here in viewership, but I want to be up here. Then I'd be like, hey, but try to think back. Like, wasn't there a point in your journey when you were just happy that you were getting viewers at all? You know, I hope there was, because this was the most blissful, like pure form of enjoyment for content creation that I had. And I absolutely got swept as the space grew and developed and shaped, and, you know, lots of other people became successful. I absolutely fell into that pitfall of like looking up here and being like, man, I'm here. but I want to be here like these other people. And I guarantee you, probably if you went and talked to those people that are up here where I'm looking, they're probably like, they might be like, nah, man. Especially if they ever get any sort of like slight dip. Especially. I bet especially. They'd be like, no, I'm so unhappy. I'm just so frustrated and failing. I want to get back to there. Or if anything, I want to be up here. So the point I'm trying to make is the goalposts just keep moving. If you get sucked into this like mindset, which so many people I think are, just be wary of it, because the goalposts constantly move and they never stop moving. Which what that means is you're never going to be satisfied with like content creation. You're never going to be satisfied with where you're at. And that makes it harder to be grateful for the position that you're even in to begin with. And it makes it hard to just have fun, I think. So that's something that I kind of learned over the years, was like, I stopped doing this and I realized that I need to stop moving the goalposts and get back to that like very pure form that I started out on, where I was just happy things were happening at all, you know? This is my recommendation. If you can try to maintain that like just pure innocent joy of anything happening at all, you're gonna have fun. And that, I think, to bring it all back around, will make it easier to come back from like a break. Because then try to like break it down and be like, okay, well, why am I afraid of coming back from a break? What am I fearful of? Am I fearful that people aren't going to be there to watch me and I'm not going to have views? That might be your answer. And if that's your answer, then again, I say try to get back to here. Try to remember what it was like the first time you even realized you had more viewers than just you and your family member, or you and your mod, or whatever. The first time you started seeing that number go up just a little bit, and how thrilling and exciting that was, you know? And try to get back to that, right? That enjoyment. That might make it easier for you to just hit that button and start streaming again. It's crazy to think of how happy I was by it. Exactly, yeah, same. Like, I finally hit that point in my content creation career where I was feeling all this burnout and always looking up and being unhappy. And I was like, wait, why am I even like doing this if I'm just miserable all the time? It's like, if I think about those first days when my videos first started popping off, because I had zero expectations. I had a dream, you know, I had my dream, but I had zero expectations, right? Which I think was great. And I think that's kind of harder to go into content creation these days like that, because it's such a more well-established space. So like now we have all these really established, successful people. So I think it's more common for people to have that dream of being like that, but also the expectation that their journey will get them there, or their expectation that that's how it will go. I didn't have that expectation when I started. It wasn't established. I had a dream. I thought it'd be cool if it happened, but I had zero expectation that it could be a thing. So that was helpful too, but just something to consider, just food for thought. Thank you for your question. Hopefully that was helpful. What equipment did you start your content creation career off of? Wait, let's do this because I like being able to zoom this in. What equipment did you start off your content creating career with, and what editing software do you use for your videos? Thank you so much for answering. Keep up the good work. This is a great question. So I'd like to preface this with, again, just, you don't need fancy things. Just get out there and make stuff with whatever you got. Doesn't matter. Again, everyone's going to tell you, oh, if you really want to make it, if you want to be successful, you need this high quality microphone, and you need high quality graphics, and, you know, blah, blah, blah. It's BS. Everybody's got that these days. It's whatever. If that was all it took, if it was just pay to win, then everybody would be successful, right? Everybody would be, you know, where they want to be if it was just pay to win like that. So first of all, I know that's not what you're asking, but I just want to take this chance to, because this is the first time we talked about like gear. I just want to like get that out there. Content creation is not like a pay to win thing. You know, obviously it's cool to see really high quality pieces of production. That is very cool. But it is not the end all be all, I would argue. What I started off my career with was a MacBook and like a $15 USB like dongle capture card that had the, what are they called, like the RCA connectors or whatever, you know, the red, yellow, white prongs to plug into my like my Xbox 360 that I would capture on my that I would plug into my MacBook laptop and capture gameplay off of that. And it was like, I don't even remember the name. I forgot the name of this. Someone might remember, where the video had all the horizontal lines going through it. I forgot what this is called. But back in the day, you would see things that were captured or video formats where you would just have all these little tiny skinny horizontal lines going across. And I forgot what the term is for this. Is it interlacing? Yeah, it might have been interlacing. So that was like, you know, it couldn't record without the interlacing, right? So that's what I started off with. And I didn't even have a microphone. I just used my laptop microphone, like the built-in really shitty laptop microphone. You know? That's what I started off with. At some point I upgraded to I had PlayStation 4. Big jump in quality. PlayStation 4. And recording with I started recording with a gaming headset. Just absolute the worst, you know, the most crappy headset mic quality, but still better than the laptop microphone. That's what I was recording videos on. That was when my career started. My videos popped off, right? And that was where I was like, oh, I can actually like do this thing. Now, granted, again, this is like years ago, so the space is different these days. But at the same time, I also don't think that means that like that couldn't pop off again in this day and age, right? It's like you just have to like make the right content the way that you want to make it, be passionate about it, be consistent. So you can have really crappy stuff, quality, quote unquote. You could go against all the norms of like best practices that are pushed these days and still have stuff pop off because you're entertaining or your passion for it shows or whatever. So yeah, just get whatever you need, whatever you got to work with. Just do that. Like I said, get a mirror and point a camera at the mirror and have the mirror reflect the TV that you're playing on. Like, that's freaking awesome, man. As long as you're having fun, that's great. That's cool. I would, all day, every day, I would rather watch someone doing something like that that's, you know, quote unquote, more scuffed or whatever, or sketchy, and being really passionate about it and clearly having fun, than watching someone with a super overproduced broadcast or piece of content and just really clearly be able to tell that like they are only doing that thing because that's what they think is like going to help them grow or get views, or it's because they watched some other person's guide or like listened to someone or read a thread that's what was going to help them be successful, and I can tell that their heart's not in it. You know, why am I gonna I don't care how edited or overproduced it is. Why am I gonna watch that? If I can tell your heart's not in it, then why? If you're not invested in it, then why should I? I'm not gonna feel invested in it, right? So yeah, that's my take on that. The nice thing is that these days, like, it is really easy to get set up with. Like, OBS is free. Like, I think that's kind of the gold standard for what people use to stream with, is like OBS Studio, because it's free. So that's free right there. That doesn't cost any money. A lot of even just like base level like pieces of hardware these days are capable of like handling streaming in some capacity or not. Broadcasting. Obviously some if you're on a single PC setup, like some games will make it harder, but you know, it's still possible. So yeah, just get out there and do the stuff, man. Just do it. Just make the stuff. You know, it's not a pay to win space. It's not a pay to win space. It's more about you and your personality and what you bring to the table. Thank you for your question. I'm also interested in streaming, but I'm scared to start and fail. Can you tell us your story starting? Okay, I went over this. Any tips that you share about how to start streaming? Yeah. So just everything that I've talked up to this point. Just don't be scared. Don't talk yourself out of doing the thing before you even do it. Just do the thing. Gotta just do the thing. Thank you. Best of luck out there. Get out there and make stuff. Yeah. Hey, hello Ryoshi. Been wondering for a while, what kind of offline work do you do? Other than editing, make schedules, probably part of VOD Gang. Have an awesome stream. Thank you, VOD Gang. Yeah, I think I talked about this as well. Just like lots of offline stuff, coordinating collabs with people, responding to staff on messages, yeah, writing schedules, obviously editing, writing scripts for voice packs and recording things, like recording vocals and voice work and all the whole freaking 9 yards. And there are other people who do other stuff beyond that. They're designing things, they're planning projects, they're all kinds of stuff, man. We wear all kinds of hats. It's cool, it's fun. Thank you for your question. Hello fellow streamer. My question: how do you handle streaming if you can't help but be inconsistent? The grind is hard. I only got so much energy and time. Thank you. Yeah, I would just say, like, just do, again, this is like, assess your goals. Content creators out there, assess your goals. Is your goal to just, are you doing content creation because it's a fun hobby and you just like the idea of like posting videos and you know, streaming, even if like not many people are watching, but you just like streaming because maybe you just like to go watch back your own stuff or whatever? If that's the case, I think that's great. I think that's a really pure form of enjoyment. That's really, you know, simple and fun. So don't worry about consistency. Don't worry about the grind. Don't worry about having, you know, don't worry about trying to expend more energy or time than you feel like you have. If your goals are to like grow, if you want to reach a certain size, if you want to maybe make money, whatever, again, you know, my answer's still the same. Don't expend any more energy or time than you have, because what that's going to lead to is burnout. Burnout is the greatest enemy of all content creators. You know, so many people get burned out, and I think a lot of people hit burnout because, again, they think that they have to hit a certain size by a certain time. They expect themselves to be somewhere, to be doing so well, blah blah blah, and then they don't get there, and then they get burned out and they quit. And you'll hit that faster if you're over expending your time and your energy and really being obsessed with being consistent with the grind and so on and so forth. You're going to hit that threshold so much faster. Really, it's just a race to the bottom is what I see a lot. A lot of the time I just see it really truly feels like I'm watching a race to the bottom of who can burn out faster than anyone else. That's harsh to say, but I mean, that's just what I feel like I see a lot of the time. And for you guys out there watching this, like, you might have similar observations. Like, if you go on like VTuber Twitter or content creator Twitter and you see the posts that people make, it looks like a race to the bottom. It's just who's gonna flame out before the next person flames out, right? And it's because everybody is like on the grind set and trying to be super consistent and, you know, just burning themselves out. So yeah, my advice is like, try to be aware of that happening and try to avoid it. Like, try to be cognizant of that happening to you, because it just makes me sad, because again, content creation can be such a fun thing, and if you like, I feel like people are ruining it for themselves. That sucks to see, man. Sucks to see. I hate to see that. So yeah, just only apply what you have available to apply, and this will help you do things longer and keep your dream alive longer. It is absolutely not a sprint like most people are trying to make it out to be. It is definitely a marathon. So many people are looking for the shortcuts, are looking for, like, yeah, I mean, that's really what it is. A lot of people are just looking to hit a certain goal really fast. And of course, like I talked about before, it's ironic because as soon as you hit that goal, the goalpost is going to move again, right? So just be aware of that. But so many people are looking for shortcuts, and that's how they burn out. So don't look for the shortcuts. Don't think that just because you're super consistent, grinding hard, putting so much time and energy that it's... The reality is too, is like, that's not necessarily going to translate to success. That's the harsh reality. Is you could be absolutely the most consistent and the grinding the hardest and giving it 120% all the time and still never achieve the goals that you set for yourself. That's also absolutely the reality. So knowing that that's the reality, you got to ask yourself, is it worth that? Is it worth your time and your energy? Or would you rather just do things at a pace that's really comfy for you? And if that success comes, it comes. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. But at least you're gonna hopefully be enjoying your experience a little bit more than the other person who's like killing themselves to try to like be super consistent and grind and blah, 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 you know, and is still in the same position as you, you know, just consider that something to think about. Yeah. Best of luck in your streaming journey. Thank you for your question. A fan wants to help their favorite VTuber with getting a sponsorship. How can a fan help from fan side of the equation? Is a different type of process for getting certain type of sponsorship, project, getting played, blah, 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 blah. Ooh, that's a good question. I don't really know if, to be honest with you, I don't know if there's much that fans can do. Now, if your favorite streamer gets a sponsorship opportunity, yes. Once they have that opportunity, absolutely. Like, interact with that thing in a positive way, like their posts, watch their streams, thumbs up, comment, all that kind of things. You can boost that engagement and show that sponsor that like the sponsoree, their audience loved it, right? And they'd love to see more things like that from them. That's great. So once that's actually secured, yes. From fans, absolutely. As far as like fans helping them acquire, I really genuinely, I don't know. This is me just like not really having a really great answer to that question, I think. I just don't know. And I don't want to like say something that maybe is bad info because I genuinely haven't really thought about it that way. I don't know. That's my answer to that. Most of this, in my opinion, falls upon like the onus. I personally think falls upon the creator themselves. It's about how you conduct yourself in all aspects of your journey, in your presence on social media, in your streams, in your videos, on your social media like Twitter, whatever that you share, you post on. In my opinion, this is more the responsibility of the creator themselves to make themselves a safe option for potential sponsors looking to sponsor creators for things. If you're someone who's super controversial, who swears a lot, who posts like things that are controversial, blah blah blah, you're hurting your own chances, you know. So just if that's your goal is to get sponsorships, that's something to consider. If you really want to work with a certain sponsor, you can do things like talk about how much you like their product or whatever. Maybe that gets back to them somehow. Really, when it comes down to working with brands and companies, professionalism, in my experience, goes a really, really long way. There's a lot of people out there who are very unprofessional and who don't know how to show gratitude, how to be respectful, how to talk professionally, even in just terms of like language. Sometimes I've seen messages that people talk like interact with brand like reps, and I'm like, oh my god, I could never. I would die. I would crawl into a hole and die if I spoke that way to somebody who is potentially like trying to work with me in a professional capacity and give me money. Like, I would simply cease to exist. So it's just something to consider. Just be aware. Professionalism, in my experience, goes a really long way. You know, if you're given a contract and it has deliverables listed on that contract, make sure that you understand what those deliverables entail and what the timeline is for all of those things, and that you're fulfilling all your obligations from your side. That's really a big responsibility that you have, is to understand the client's needs and wants, and then think about how to best execute the project in a way that serves those wants and needs to the best of your ability. And if you can do that, and you can start building that resume, and it's really great if you can build a track record and say like, here's all the things that I've done before, and here's, you know, the results. That makes it easier to then continue acquiring sponsorships and continue getting opportunities. Alternatively, if you have a track record, people in the industry talk as well. You know, brand reps and whatever. They know each other and they talk, and you don't want to be the person who has the reputation of being really hard to work with, or when you do get an opportunity to maybe say promote a product or a game or a service or whatever, and you just kind of do a lackadaisical job and it's not really that satisfying. That's something to take note of too. Like, just because you get the opportunity and you get the money doesn't mean that like you should slack off. Not saying that people do this, but I've seen it happen before. And just things like that, right? Like, do your best, really try to understand the client's wants and the client's needs, and think about how you're then going to take your project or your stream or whatever, and really try to drive that point home. And then you can go like in the future and be like, hey, here's some stuff that I've done before. Like, hey, I'd love to work with you. Here's some references of like things that I've done before with different brands and the things that we created together. And this is what they needed, and this is what they wanted, and this is how I executed that vision. That can be really helpful. So try to build your resume that way. Yeah, anyway. Best of luck out there. Don't be the story in the break room. Yep. I need to check the time. Where are we at? I think this is about 2.5 hours. We're kind of at that point where I want to... I mean, the overall stream is like 2:46 or something, but like 15 minutes was intro screen and yapping, or first 20 minutes. So but we're pretty close to like at that cutoff point where I want to keep the VOD shorter. This is a really stupid question, but I don't know how to start streaming. I have a model, but don't know how to sub streaming YouTube or Twitch. How can I do that? Also, do you feel as a content creator it's more important to do stuff that you want or stuff that's trendy? I.e. new games that release games that a lot of people know. Since personally, I don't really feel like playing gacha games, but a lot of people... Oh yeah, cool. So I feel like we've answered this one. So as far as like not knowing the specifics of how to start, tons of guides out there. Like just look up how to stream to YouTube, how to stream to Twitch, whatever your platform of choice is. You're going to find video guides for that kind of thing on how to like set up OBS and capture devices or whatever. So just follow those guides. As far as the question about, like, is it more important to do stuff you want or stuff that's trendy? I think you guys can kind of already guess where my stance on this is. Obviously, for me, it's like just do the stuff that you want. Doing the stuff that's trendy is the choice when you are really focused on growth as your primary driving force for why you're doing content creation. But again, I have to stress there is an audience for everything out there. And again, some things will just take longer for you to find that audience and for that audience to find you. However, again, if you're just forcing yourself constantly to do things that you personally don't really like or care about, but you're just doing it for the sake of doing it because it's trendy and it's easy growth, yes, you might even get those results that you're looking for, like the viewership wise. But again, you're going to burn out eventually, and you're going to want to transition to doing the stuff that you really actually care about. And you might struggle with that audience not carrying over and experiencing those dips in viewerships that just kill your mental as a creator. So just something to be mindful of. So again, I personally, from my perspective, it's like, it's not a race. There's no rush. Take your time, just make the content that you have fun with and enjoy, because that's what's going to be sustainable. And again, it will take you longer than other people maybe to grow to the same size, but everybody's content creation journey is going to be different, and that's okay. It's not a race. So yeah, that's my take. Thank you for your question. Do you ever get scared that people will recognize your voice when you go outside? No, because I don't go outside ever. Thank you for your question. I'm sure you've answered this before, but any advice for auditioning? Wait, I think this might be... Oh no, I thought that was the last question. Any advice for auditioning? Okay, let's wrap it up here. I think this will be the last... Did I see this? These are kind of the same. Aspiring VTuber wanting to join a corpo. Yeah, okay, let's end on this question for today. And then if I have other questions... Let me see, hold on. Let me change scenes really fast. Oh my god, there are so many questions still. Okay, we're gonna have to do this in like 2 parts. This will be the end of part 1. I think this is like a good rounding question. Oh my god, there are so many questions left. Thank you all for all the questions. It probably didn't help that I yapped for like 40 minutes on the first talking point, but it was a really important one. It was a really great question. So yeah, we'll end off this first episode here. Advice for auditioning. So I'm sure this is something that people are really interested in, from hearing from like a Corpo VTuber. Now, of course, disclaimer, I can't tell you the specifics. I'm not even aware of the specifics in like the select, but I am also not able to disclose like the specifics of like how the Niji like audition process went. So this is just going to be general advice, for just anybody looking to apply to anything really. Advice for auditioning. Oh boy, that's a topic. Yeah, there will be a part 2. So make sure that you're subscribed if you aren't already. I hope that you've all been enjoying the stream. Thanks for hanging out. Okay, advice for auditioning. Yes. My advice for auditioning is you want to know what my knee-jerk reaction is? My knee-jerk response, don't take this seriously. My knee-jerk response is like, take any advice that you've heard and throw it out the window, honestly. that's the answer that I kind of want to give, like kind of hee hee ha ha, but also partially seriously, and I'll explain why. Right? Is because, again, the goalposts are always moving, and you aren't privy to that information. The only people privy to that information are the recruiting staff, right? I am more than willing to bet that like every single wave that like a agency, like audition wave that they hold, they like, it doesn't, like, if we think about this logically, it doesn't make sense for them to be looking for the same thing that they were looking for in the previous audition wave, right? Like, why? So any advice that people give based on like whatever their experiences was from that wave that they auditioned for, is a good chance it doesn't apply to the next one. So even me, like saying like my experience was this, so you should do this, that could very easily turn from good advice to bad advice because the goalpost probably moved, right? So just something to consider. So like when you're looking for audition advice, you take it all with a really big grain of salt. So that's one thing to just be mindful of. So with that in mind, my advice for you is just like focus on your own individual strengths. Like what, like my piece of advice is really think so thoroughly and deeply about what makes water ice. Are you, I'm just seeing a bunch of comments from you. That's a lot of yeses. Yes, peace. Are you a real person? Yes, for you. Yes, focus. Yes, peace. Are you? Nope, you're not a real person. Are you a bot? If you're a bot, you have to tell me if you're a bot. It's like if I ask if you're a cop or not. That's the law, right? You have to tell me whether or not you're a real person. Dude, man, AI is scary. I just don't know what's real anymore, honestly. Genuinely, I don't know. There's no distinguishing between what's real and not anymore. You gotta do the captcha now. Anyway, sorry, I got sidetracked. Yeah, my advice for auditioning is if you're considering applying to like, I'm just gonna assume that this is for VTubers, right? Because I'm a VTuber, we're in a VTuber space. So if this is a question, this is my advice for VTubers looking to apply to like a VTuber agency. Think really long and hard about what your greatest strength is. And the reason why I say this is because I see a lot of people talk about, I see a lot of comments anytime like a wave opens for like some agency. People are like, man, I want to apply, but I just don't think I have, like, I'm not good at this, or I'm not good at this, or I don't think I have what they're looking for. And it's like, A, you don't know what they're looking for. Because like I just said, the goalposts have probably moved. So you don't know that anyway. Like nobody knows that except for the internal staff. So don't worry about that. And B, like, I think you're thinking about it the wrong way, right? Like, again, it kind of goes back to what we've been saying a lot about just like getting started on content creation, right? Is like just do the thing. So it's kind of the same thing. It's like, even if you think that you don't possess the things that they might want, just apply, right? Because you never know. I mean, I like thinking about it, that was me. I was like, I hadn't even been doing, like, I wasn't even like a full-fledged VTuber when I applied. I had only just learned about VTubing like probably roughly like maybe 3 months before. And so I knew nothing. I didn't have a model. I never sang in my life before, didn't speak Japanese, you know, applying to a Japanese company. So many things. I was just like, yeah, hi Nova. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, like I was very brand new to the VTubing space. And yeah, I looked at NIJISANJI and I looked at all the people in it and I'm like, oh my God, everybody's so good at like singing. Like, I see people in here who are like drawing things. I see people who are like doing all this crazy stuff. And I'm like, I do not possess any of those skills at all. It's a Japanese company. I see people in there who are in the EN branch who are also speaking Japanese, like with damn near perfect fluency. Like I was like, I don't stand a snowflake's chance in hell, man. But I just applied. So again, that's like, I encourage you to just do it. Don't stop yourself from doing it because you're like, oh, but I don't have this and I can't do this and I don't think I have what they're looking for. Like you don't know what they're looking for, and you like, yeah, just don't stop yourself from applying. So don't have those doubts. You're just killing an opportunity before it even possibly exists, right? So that's one thing. That's one piece of advice. And the thing, if I had to guess, and again, I don't know, but my own self-analysis of like my application is like, the thing I do pride myself on with my audition tape is that like, I feel like I did a good job of identifying like what at least made me, right? And what I was good at. And I really, I personally honed in on making sure that my audition tape communicated that and what I felt was the best use of like my 5 minutes of time. And so that would be my advice, is like identify, you might not think that you got what they're looking for, but that doesn't matter. Throw that out the window. Okay. Just think really hard about what makes you, you, and what makes you interesting. And again, people are like, oh, but I'm not unique. Oh, but like a bunch of other people do. It's like, it's fine. That's the whole thing of content creation. There's so much overlap. Don't worry about that. You're still you. You're still you with your own unique take on things and perspective and delivery style and so much else. So just focus on that. Don't worry about it overlapping. You can't avoid that, quite frankly. It's more, in my opinion, about the message and the way that you're able to deliver it. You know, to show off that strength. My other tip would be, don't do this yourself, because in my opinion, you're potentially hurting your chances for future auditions, right? Auditions are opening all the time. Like, it's not like a one and done thing. So don't be the person who's like, oh, I auditioned for this. Here was my experience. Here's all the inside details. And then like what people do a lot is they upload like their audition tape. I personally don't think that's a great play, in my opinion, just because it's like, sure, you didn't get in, but you also weren't supposed to like share that you were applying a lot of the time in the first place. Like, I see, I guess, yeah, like you're technically like not supposed to like let people know that you're auditioning or share your audition tape anywhere. It's supposed to just be for those, the staff's eyes only. So even after the fact, yes, the audition passed and closed and you didn't make it in. I personally think that it's not a great idea to then post your tape just because you didn't get in, because if you do have aspirations to join an agency, and it means you're going to apply again at some point. If that's floating around or it gets known that you did that, then that might hurt your future chances. So just something to consider as well. But you can find those things out there. So my recommendation would be, if you're serious about applying to an agency, try to find those tapes and watch those. And I guarantee when you watch those tapes, like, think really critically as though you were a recruiter. Because what you might find in that experience is that you'll be like, you'll get to the end of their 5-minute tape and you'll be like, wow, oh, this point that you're making now is super interesting. And I actually like this point you made about yourself. And I want to learn more about this, or this is really cool. And I think this makes you an interesting candidate. I wish you had put this at the beginning of the tape instead of like here at the end or in the middle, right? Structuring, I think, is really important. You really have to start off strong. Don't leave your best point to the end, right? It's kind of weird in that sense, because sometimes with like stories, we're used to like building up to the climax, right? And like sort of like guiding the viewer to that point. But the thing you have to remember is like, I would really love to know. I think it'd be really fascinating to know how many auditions agencies get. It's got to be in the thousands, right? I just assuming that like the recruitment staff has to probably go through like thousands of tapes. So put yourself in that person's shoes. And if every tape is like 5 minutes long or however long the time limit is that they set, it's like you're going to be burned out at some point. And you don't know if you're going to get the person and be the first person they're watching or the 1000th person that they're watching. You might get someone whose brain is cooked at that point and they just don't care. And if you literally don't catch their attention in the first like 10 seconds, nothing else matters, right? So don't put your strength at the very back of the video. Technically, from like a storytelling perspective, that might be the like quote unquote correct thing to do. In my personal opinion, if I'm thinking about it from the perspective of someone who's watched a bajillion videos over the past couple of weeks, like I'm probably saying, dude, just get to the point. Like, why should I watch the rest of your video? That's just my take. Something to consider. But yeah, identify what your strengths are. This is just my personal opinion. Identify what your strength is. It doesn't even have to be multiple things. Identify what that strength is, and then really think really hard about how you're going to communicate that in a really compelling and interesting way, in a succinct and effective way. Don't ramble on. Don't be unclear. Don't be vague. Like, really hone in on, like, this is my point. How do I deliver this point super effectively? That's what I would do personally. I will say most companies watch max 2 minutes, so put your best stuff in front. Yeah. 2 minutes max. And that might just be, honestly, that might be generous. I don't know. Again, I don't know. I don't know what Niji does. I don't know what other agencies do, but you should always like prepare for the worst case scenario. You know what I mean? It's not that much different than when you're just making a piece of content that you hope will go viral. It's kind of the same thing, right? Because isn't the general rule of thumb is that like you have like maybe, I think 10 seconds is generous these days. You have maybe 10 seconds for your video to catch someone's interest. Reality these days, especially with short form stuff, is probably like a second. I think we're at that point with attention spans. You literally have a second to hook somebody. So if you think about making your audition tape in kind of the similar fashion, is like you have to catch someone's attention, because much like someone who's been scrolling on their phone for the past 3 hours, just watching a bunch, just binging content, like they've seen a bajillion videos and they're only watching the things that really catch their attention. It's probably the same thing, I would imagine. So just something to like keep in mind. I have gone and watched other people's tapes that they post on YouTube, and I'm like, you had some really great points. You just like buried it in the middle or at the ends. And I personally would be like, hey, I think, you know, this would have been stronger if you'd put this more towards the front and you had made the point very clear and then elaborated upon it with the time that you had. But I'm not a recruiter, so I'm just a guy. But that's just my take on that. Yeah. So just think about it as though it is its own piece of content that you would approach, right? Any other tips? Any other general advice? Let me think. Yeah, I think that's the main point I want to make. Again, is like, yeah, don't, if you want to join an agency, again, don't kill your own chances by being like, but I don't have this and this and this. It's like, you don't know what they're looking for. So don't make that assumption, and don't not apply based on an assumption. And again, you know, don't worry about trying to come across as like super unique or anything. That can help, but like if you're making stuff up, A, that's not going to work. Well, and B, like again, you're going to have a much harder time if you're like trying to present yourself in a certain way that's not really who you are, but you're trying to present yourself that way because you think that's what they want. Like, you just aren't going to have the stuff to back it up, right? Like, you might not have the content to show for it. You're going to say, oh, I'm like this, but then you don't have any examples in your video. You know, just think about that kind of thing. Like, again, just play to your strengths. Hone in on that strength, because if it is your strength, you're probably going to have a lot of examples of it too, right? You'll be able to like communicate your point better through video and stuff, and through the written portion as well, you know? Just things to consider. So that's my main points for auditioning. I'm trying to think if there's anything else though. Don't talk about that you're applying. Don't do that. I think that's just I can't remember if that's a written rule or not. I think if nothing else, that's an unspoken rule. Because why would a company that wants to sign you to like a contract that has like non-disclosure agreement stuff and like, you know, I can't think of the right word, but you know, just private stuff that you're not supposed to share. It's not a good look if like you apply for something where the expectation is that you don't share that you're applying to it or what you've said in it. and then like the first thing you do is that you go and break that either written or unwritten rule, you know? So don't do that. I know you're excited. I know people are excited, but don't make that mistake. That's an easy folly where they will find that on your social media, probably. Not a great look. Doesn't this apply to case of anything and everything? Yeah, I know, absolutely. That's the other thing too, is it like, just treat it like a job application. Like, that's another thing too, for sure. Just treat it like an actual like career application. There's plenty of parallels, quite frankly, you know? So yeah, don't do that. Is it a priority to show off talent or personality? I'm really curious. Yeah, I honestly don't know. I don't even know how to answer that because I don't know what they're looking for. That's why I said my advice, the only advice I really feel like I can provide is like, again, just like, because you don't know what matters to them most, but what you do know is what you're good at, you know? If nothing else, you know what you're good at or what you're proud of. You have things that you're proud of as a creator, hopefully. You know, that you're like, hey, I think I do this well, or this is what I like to do, or, you know, whatever. You do know that, but you don't know whether or not they care more about talent or whether or not they care about personality. You don't know whether they care whether or not you can sing or whether or not you can draw or whether or not you're good at games or whether or not you can speak a certain language. Like, you might not know. I mean, although a caveat to that, I suppose, is that I guess there probably are some applications where they do say we're specifically looking for people who have these kind of talents. In that case, then you do know. You know, there are some out there, I think there are auditions out there that are like, specifically, we care about such and such, which is great. If it's like that, then you have a little more clear idea at the very least. That might help guide your... So if that is the case, then obviously pay attention to that. So if they say, hey, we're looking for people who can sing, obviously don't submit an audition that's just talking about how good you are at video games. If they're looking specifically for people who they want to like sing or something, I don't know. Like then that shows that you don't have good reading comprehension. So that's not great either. So something to consider. But yeah, I really don't know if I've got anything else for auditions. Because again, I'm hesitant to give any like specific advice, even based off my own experience. Because again, the goalposts have probably moved. Yeah. I think that's about it. Be yourself, hone in on what you're good at. Don't pretend to be something that you're not, or pretend that you have skills that you don't have. Don't talk about what you're doing. And again, yeah, that's just good in general. The whole like work in silence and let your results speak for themselves kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. That's what I got for auditioning advice. That's what I got. Alrighty, that was a little bit longer than I wanted for the first episode. I talked about how I was going to keep it to 2 to 2.5 hours. So we're a little bit over that mark. This is what, been a 3 hour and 10 minute or so stream or whatever. However, 10 minutes was the intro screen and maybe 5 to 10 minutes of like prefacing the whole concept. So I give myself about a 20-minute pass. So this was about 2 hours and 45 to 2 hours and 50 minutes, which is still over my goal, but still pretty good. Still pretty good. You know what? It's not my fault. It's everyone's fault for having such good questions, okay? It's all of your faults for having such good questions. There's still a lot more in here, by the way. They might be kind of redundant. I don't know. I'll go through these and I'll decide whether or not they're redundant, like I've already feel like I've answered them, and then I'll let you all know on Twitter what the topic for next week will be. It might be more content creator questions or it might be something else, depending. But yeah, thank you so much everyone for coming and hanging out for first episode of Ryoma Mondays. Thank you for all the questions. To all my fellow content creators out there, you can do it. You've got this. Just remember to have fun, man. I really hate seeing people burn themselves out. Just have fun. Do your best. You've got this. I hope that you all enjoyed this first episode. Shout out to the VOD gang. Sorry, it's a little bit longer than I promised, but I'll do better moving forward. We'll do better moving forward. This is just like one topic that I feel like I just have a lot to say on. So future ones will probably not be. I probably won't have quite as quite as long-winded answers for. But I hope this was helpful for some people. But yeah, hopefully this was insightful for people who want to be creators and for people who are fans of creators. I hope you enjoyed. And again, remember, this is all just my personal opinion. Nothing that I've said is like the way. I absolutely do not want to advertise any advice that I said in here as like the best practice or whatever, or like the end all be all, because quite frankly, that's just not true. Everybody's experience is different. Everybody's path in content creation is gonna look different. Success looks different for different people. It comes in different shapes and sizes and at different times, so on and so forth. But I hope that this is at least a unique and interesting perspective from me. And yeah, I'll let you know next week on Twitter what the theme will be, and we'll open up the marshmallow again. It's closed right now. I had to close it because there's so many questions. But I'll let you know. So look for it. I'll catch you all on the next episode for Monday. Really quickly, let me think about. Switch scenes. Haha, I love ADHD. I'm just realizing I haven't posted my schedule yet. I'm gonna go post my schedule, which I said I would post last night, but I forgot. I'm gonna go post my schedule for the week as well, for the rest of the week, so you can see what we're gonna get up to. But just really quickly, we have Apex Legends new season drops tomorrow, so I'm gonna be diving into that. The next day after that, I will be also playing Apex to practice for the upcoming tournaments with my teammates. My friend Maria from V4 Mirai and my friend Melly, who is the voice actress for Catalyst in the game. We have the Apex tourney. We have Denauth weekly collab. We have NIJISANJI EN Koshien watch along, which is happening on Lucas Senpai's channel. This is the day I'll be joining. It's happening on, I forgot who else is hosting. There's like 3 days of watch parties, but I'm watching on Saturday, my time, because that's when the team, the Chaikas that I'm a part of, is playing. And then we have the Valorant tourney on Sunday, the Avalon Cup being hosted by the guys over at First Stage Productions. It's a heckin' packed week, everybody. There's a lot going on, but I hope you're looking forward to all of the all this. Oh yeah, tomorrow is actually. Oh yeah, I forgot. Before Apex tomorrow, I scheduled in a Zatsu as well. So for that, we can yap some more. Maybe we can talk about some of the stuff that we talked about today. That I can't get to now because I want to try to end this VOD. But yeah, so we're gonna have a Zatsu tomorrow before Apex, and then if we also have time, I'll read you a story from the Sherlock Holmes book thing. So that's the plan. Yippee! All right, I'm out of here. Yeah. Denauth weekly collab is happening as well. Don't worry, haven't missed a week. All right, friends. Much love. Many thanks for hanging. I hope that you had fun. I appreciate you watching. I am getting out of here. I am hungry. And also EP. Let's see. Is anybody streaming? Yes, there is. Oh, speaking of Avalon Cup, is this Ver practicing for it? Oh, yeah. Yeah, Ver is practicing for it right now. Oh, he just went live too. Perfect. Okay, cool. I'm gonna go raid Ver, everybody. Go say hi to Ver. He is practicing for the same Valorant tourney that I will be in as well. So it looks like his team is practicing right now. All right, friends. Hope you enjoyed the first episode. Sorry it was a little bit long, but we'll do better next time. Probably, maybe. Okay, love you. Bye.